There I am.
I have no idea how loud it is. So we're going to do a quick sound test here. I'm Underlord Jester with me here, as we said, Charmer, looking down the this is week 3. It's starting round 1, Underlords Pro Season 6. Charmer, I'm the DC on the block, but how many seasons have you
I think this is officially the 4th one that I've done a cast for. So I'm not a regular. I'm traditionally a fill-in, even though I love Underlords. There's some great folks at Underlords.pro. So they call me when somebody is sick or on vacation or self-isolating or whatever the case may be. But this will be my 4th of the 6 that I will have officially participated in. And I'm excited. I'm digging it. Quick feedback. I just checked the audio. It seems like the game was still pretty loud and we were a bit quiet.
Well, as I said, I'm still trying to finagle all the microphones here, but back and forth. It should be starting to level out. I'm hoping. I can still tinker with knowledge of the games. Games are going to be here imminent as well, unless my audio bars are just completely boring.
They might be better. As I'm listening to you talk in comparison to the game music right now, and even myself, and I'm traditionally a pretty loud and obnoxious person, the game seems pretty dominant, at least right now. So I think it might just be the audio levels that are a bit warped.
Well, this is where filters are your friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So the good news is that the minute we get that under control, so that folks can hear our voices commentating over top of the gameplay, we've got a lobby ready to go, and there are some great players in the lobby. I'm looking forward to see how things shake up. My question for you would be, how are you feeling about Underlords essentially since the game has hit its official launch, right? We were in kind of that beta period where the game was changing wildly, it would seem, from time to time, but now that we kind of know what Underlords is supposed to look like, how do you feel?
Well, the whole reason that I even came back into Underlords is simply because they did release. I'm just trying to do a little bit more magic here. As the game has started, we are started into week 3 here. But for me, it feels a lot more polished. It feels a lot more like an actual product now. My beta experiences were very hit or miss. So when I saw that it got actually released and it came out, I gave it a spin, and I gotta say, like the improvements are palpable. They're very obvious where the quality of lives have improved now with the battle pass, now with the seasons swapping around. I don't have to deal with tinkers right now, for example. God, that was just me back in the day. Back in like the early beta days, it was just you get scrappy tinkers and then everyone out quit the game.
Yeah, there was obviously some strong compositions, even from day one, back when the good old drow was bugged and hunters were rampant. Always strong compositions throughout the history of the game. But I think what really has me excited for the current version, the current iteration, is just that the game has kind of found its identity as far as what separates it from other auto battlers. And they've changed the way that the Underlords work so that they're not dominating your team composition. There are more in addition to, and I think that was the right design choice, because games like this, with this auto battler genre, it's all about adaptability, right? You showcase your player skill by adapting to what the other players are doing and what the shop is throwing at you. And there were several times in the history of this game where there was no adaptability. Everybody was trying to do the exact same thing, and they were trying to force it from round one. So I really dig where Underlords is, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Valve supports it now that we have this official release.
All right, so keep the feedback coming here, guys. I think I got everything coming to a bit of a head where we can confidently say that we're doing well. But I do agree. When I kind of came into this, everyone's like, Hunter's Heartless, Bloodseeker. But now they've kind of changed that up a little bit. We've had Magic in our top placements per round here at Underlords Pro. We've had Brawny Dragons into... Well, there's not really much else. It's just usually just Brawny Axe. If I'm going to be honest about it. But yeah, it's no longer just about the hunters. Heartless seems to be something of a theme that still pervades around. But you go out to Lord Ladder, right? You can watch a handful of different streamers playing a handful of different strategies and placing fairly well and fairly consistently.
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of watching spirit compositions just because I think that the Delta Slams are cheeky and fun. And right now, it does look like we are spectating Vandersar Dota here, and so far has not found any 2 stars. Is kind of, I think, playing the econ game. You saw them there making sure they get that bonus gold, getting that interest before buying out. But this buying out to fill your bench is 100% them hunting for pairs and then specifically hitting those 2-star units. In this early part of the game, what you really want is unit quality. That matters far more than composition. And Vandersar has just kind of been whiffing up until this point.
So I just completely noticed that every time I tab out of the game to fix something, it kills the game audio. I'll have to look into that on break. But forting or hyper rolling, staying at 3, looking for those better chances at pairs, like you do say, it's something that doesn't really ever kind of get explained. It's just something you kind of got to learn, right? You come into it and it's like, oh, I won, yay! Oh, I won, and then several rounds later, you're just going to start landslide losing. That is a painful lesson I've had to learn here, Charmer.
Yeah. So during the next break, what you'll want to do in the audio section is make sure that you hit the play sound in desktop. It's a little check mark in your audio settings. So that's a tip from me to you as somebody who's streamed some Underlords myself, and I too, alt tab, play in that full screen mode so that I can talk to chat, do all those fun things. But
do apologize for the unpreparedness on my part, chat. It's been a heck of a 24 hours. Let me just leave it at that. So coming in, second item round actually, here at Charmer. Ed Wiener. A little bit of history about Ed Wiener. I casted this guy in a game called Awesome Knots several years ago, and this guy did really well when it came to the 2D side-scrolling MOBA. This is my first time actually seeing him here in Underlords, and he's streaking. I'm going to head on over to him, check out what he's up to. But 100 health in this lobby might not be supremely noteworthy at this point, but the fact that he's streaking in a lobby of this caliber means that he wasn't open forting, he wasn't hyper rolling, he is on the 4 for the curve for the units. He's going for the win streak. We'll have to see if he can complete it.
There's a strong chance that they might actually lose their win streak here. They were the only undefeated, but again, the thing that you had to note about them was that they had not had any 2-stars. They did not have that unit quality, so I think that their streak was a bit misleading, and they likely ran into a couple of folks that were open forting or at least taking that reduced unit start to get the free rerolls, because you look at the squad and you don't see something that is like a dominant early game squad. Yes, you have tier 2 of Heartless, and that's great, but as I said before, in this early stage of the game, unit quality trumps unit composition 100% of the time.
And as it kind of comes to pass here, Charmer, I might blame myself on that one. Every time I say something positive about a player, it seems they just go straight down. Everybody lost their streak. Yeah, the caster curse is absolutely real. But everyone lost their streak there, so we're kind of back to ground zero here.
Yeah, we are. And this is actually pretty common, I think, in current Underlords, between folks that are trying to hit those rerolls and folks that might sell out of their bench to hit certain tiers for their bonus gold, right? You want that interest that you're getting every round whenever you can to kind of get your economy online. It's pretty common to kind of see an early ebb and flow. The thing that jumps out to me the most about our current lobby is actually Kui, the TDU.Kui here, who is already sub 80 with their health, while everyone else trading blows still above 90. They are off to a rough start, but they are about to turn it around because they've hit 3 2-star units and they have another one on their bench as well.
They're just going to keep that Weaver in for the insects, it seems. So the open forting can be expensive. 70s health is typically where I end up kind of seeing people start transitioning, and he's setting up into the Hunters, as you can see here, with those barricades. Hunters have a problem up against Pudge, as you saw the 2-star Pudge bringing out that Drow, but unfortunately nobody there to assist him means the Drow will live, At least for now. They still got to deal with that Wind Ranger, but the bugs are doing well. The evades back and forth. But, yeah, unfortunate. If there's nobody to help the Pudge, it doesn't matter if you bring someone out from the corner.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So they did opt to keep the Weaver in, and it was kind of twofold there. One, you sacrifice Heartless, but you gain Insects, but Insects in the early game are kind of outstanding.
Yes.
They start to trail off later on, but if you can have it, it's great. But the Weaver was also what was activating their Hunter bonus. So I still think that that's one of the rare instances in the early game where, like, a 1-star versus a 2-star, you might get enough value because you're getting 2 alliances turned on. But now that they've leveled up, they can also have that Heartless, have that extra 2-star. They're in a really good position to start rebounding.
And rebounding they shall with that extra unit. It looks like it's going to be a pretty solid win for Key here, so hopefully it will turn on his motors, start getting some points back, or, well, more specifically, taking points away from others. Going to take a quick look here at the tab, as we are now 5 units everybody. This should be where we start building into actually something, and you said it, right? Insects are outstanding. There's a plethora of Heartless out there as well, as we have an item choice come in. But that's actually the most insects I've ever seen early game. That is an insane amount of insects.
I'm not surprised to see this kind of representation. I'm surprised to see it on this level. There's one squad that doesn't have insects turn on. That, I would expect about half usually, but one squad doesn't have insects, and that is the person who does appear to be not only going with the Bloodbound, but just because of the way they're stacking alliances, might be thinking Legion Commander long term.
Let's take a look at Leva here for this round. See, simply because, as you said, not stacking into those insects, but could be a Rainbow, could be a Legion Commander if they put one on the board. They do have one on the bench, but got to deal with these Hunters in the corner, and just it's not enough. Like between. No, let's just take a quick look. What is it? Wind Ranger and her ridiculous damage stuffed in the corner. Shadow Demon breaking someone, and then Nyx, Weaver, and the insects basically adding up to another Wind Ranger. It's a little hard to deal with this early.
Well, it's a little hard, but there's something I want to highlight that is very interesting about this build. On the face, I like what this build is trying to do. You're going to stack the alliances. You're going to stick in Legion Commander. Once that gets topped off, you're a little weak on unit quality. You'd love Luna to be 2-star by now. But the thing that really seems odd to me at the moment is that they 2-starred their Warlock, but they're still leading kind of with face with it. So usually if you're going to put Warlock out front, you want that to be a bit of a sacrificial lamb to quickly power up your other Bloodbound units, specifically Luna, so that her glaive can start going off. In this case, though, you've got a 2-star Warlock, so it's going to take that much longer to die, and by the time it does, you're just not going to get the same value. So I'd like to see them either move that to the back and just commit to this is just a standard unit, or switch it with the 1-star and like really force the sacrifice early. It's a bit of a weird play, in my opinion.
Well, that far forward as well didn't do Leva any favors. Lost the N6 before Golem could come through. We did have the round of Underlords coming in. 3 Hobgob, 5 N6, 4 N6, because that's math. And Ed Wiener is going to be going with Jewel with the Barrels of Fun. So no Eno, or Eno. Is it Eno or Eno? What do you prefer, Charmer?
I believe it's Eno because of the double N. So I say N, no, Eno. But
well, they're saying no to Eno. Not a single one.
Yeah, that's actually really surprising to me. For a long time, Eno was kind of the de facto choice. Most lobbies were strong Eno, and I think that the more folks have kind of played around with builds, the more they've realized that I think the Underlords are relatively well balanced, with the exception of a Nesix I actually think might be a bit on the strong side, specifically in the late game, where she really starts to shine, in my opinion, is when you can get your Enthrall online on an opposing 3-star unit. It can really turn the tide against your opponent.
Well, that being said, Danny, the only player with the Enthrall, 3 Golems to be dropping with Hobgob throwing Let's Go Crazy into the battlefield, with 1 with a friendly fire. And actually, I'm going to point this out. We talked about build diversity a bit, as Leva is still taking a little bit here to get online. Wow, actually, we reset all the streaks once again. Taking a quick peek over to Excelsior, currently leading the pack, 84 health, has those insects, but the 3 magic, and this is the Hobgob with friendly fire. This is the only guy with a friendly fire Hobgob, and into the magic bonus, they're basically trying to stack that damage on damage on damage.
Yeah, this is a build that I'm really excited to see when it finds. I suspect that it's gonna be very kind of glass cannon-y, but that leads to exciting moments. You're looking to get Keeper going eventually, probably gonna transition out of these insects and into either the 6 mages or could be the spirit comp, like 3 mages, 3 spirits. Likely gonna depend on what the shop throws at you. Um, they've got their bench stacked with a bunch of units that I suspect are them just trying to manipulate the shop. So if you're a new player and you kind of don't understand what's going on there, it's very common that once your interest is locked in, you can just buy out the shop, because if units are on your bench, they're not in the pool because it's a giant shared pool. And that means when the shop shows you units the next round, the likelihood, even though it's small, the likelihood of the units you do want appearing is that much greater. So this is a great mechanic if you're a new player to kind of pay attention to as folks try to manipulate the shop.
Didn't want the wristful for mages. Makes sense, right? Don't want to silence anyone. Ends up going with a Maelstrom. Going to throw it there on the Weaver. But as you did say, right, there should be a transition point coming up here fairly soon. A lot of level 7 across the board. Take a quick look at Tab. And again, Caster's Curse, right? I go to say something good about Excelsior, immediately loses to Leva, who hadn't won in 3 rounds. So it's a thing, Charmer. It's a following thing. Heartless, some druids out there, a good amount of hunters, but Heartless insects are still basically dominating here as we're into round 13.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that, because we're just really starting to hit what I would consider to be the late game transition period. Around level 7, when folks start targeting their tier 4 units and rounding out their build, is when you're going to see a bit more of a jump. I think right around rounds like 17 through 19, you're going to see some of these insects drop off, with the likelihood of them just going into something else. Now, that being said, a lot of these insect players are also running Hunter.
Yeah.
In fact,
Hunter,
the
Heartless
only one
insects.
that's not is Excelsior, who is still in that mage comp. So it's possible that they could just leave insects in because they have to run the Weaver anyway. But it would not shock me if we start seeing, as I said before, between like round 17 and 19, we see the insects start to drop off.
All right, so a few other people having insects dropping off. Going to take a quick look at Ed Wiener, because he has now opted to drop them. 2 Brute, 2 Druid, and 4 Heartless. He was at the top of the board once upon a time. He's going to take on Vandersar Dota here in this round, and well, not entirely too sure where his board's trying to go, but it does look like it will be a Hunter focus, question mark? Not entirely too sure there, Charmer. But here comes the jewels. Here comes the barrels of fun. The only jewel here in this lobby. The tree is actually surviving a good amount of time. Does have his good old pal Magnus there, but it's too much to get through that 3-star treant, man. That thing is just too tanky.
Until you get to the late game where things start to even out, 3-star treants, in this mid game are almost immortal. And then on top of it, you've got that chainmail on it. So, it's a really big tree. Like, it is the redwood among the forest at that point. You're not bringing it down.
Well, 2 Heartless, 2 Druid, 3 Hunter, 2 insects from Vandersar worked out. Going to check over to Furbu for this round. Charmer does have the Golem. It's going to take on one of the Let's Go Crazies. Or other way around. Leva has the Golem. He has the Let's Go Crazy Hobgob. And is streaking. The only streaker right now. We have not seen any streaks even close to complete today.
No, it's been a very kind of tight lobby. Again, looking at how things are shaping out, everything pretty much looks normal with the exception of Osaki. They're a bit low. Everyone else still kind of maintaining above 50 health as we are finishing up round 15, and that's pretty standard. And Osaki loses again, so they're starting to get dangerously low at 27 health. You are 1 to 2 losses away from being eliminated post round 20. So like round 20 is the big turning point in my mind when damage really starts to scale. So as we approach that magic number, that round 20, Osaki has got to turn it around.
Well, Fibri might be streaking, but we'll hit here with Osaki. See if the 4 Heartless, 3 Hunter, and now 2 Warlock to come into this one can turn things around. But you're right, like round 20, you're sitting at 8 to 9 units when most comps hit their 6 stride or double 4s, somewhere in that round. But maybe reverse Caster's Curse coming in. Osaki just absolutely murdered with that Shadow Fiend. That's definitely doing the majority of the damage for them. Wind Ranger to come in through, and now with that Golem in the back, okay, never mind. It's going to be a Pudge Hook anyways. Will put a point on the board, keep him alive. Takes 11 from Vandersar Dota in the process, but Shadow Fiend being the surprising breadwinner in that one for him.
Yeah, they had just two-starred that Shadow Fiend as well when we were coming into this round, so it clearly made an impact. I think the other thing that's starting to work for them is their front line held up there. One of the things that has historically been true for Underlords all the way back to day one is that you really need a good front line to be successful in this game, because your units are great, but if they don't survive long enough to do what you want them to do, it's not going to help you out, right? If you have strong damage dealers, weak front line, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose against somebody with a strong front line, even if they don't have the best damage dealers. This Abaddon and Pudge finally kind of starting to hold up. They really, if I was them, I would be looking to add like one more unit there on that front line. And the Abaddon is a bit clunky without any of the other night bonuses. I think that ideally you would want that to be something more like a life stealer at this point. But with so many folks trying to jam the Heartless unit, beggars really can't be choosers at this point.
Pudge doing his magic, brings the Nestix out of her corner. That's not going to be a Golem at all. Instead, it's going to be Osaki's Golem now coming down, and that should be able to clean up here against Leva. Poor player. 11 points. Osaki coming in strong there, sitting at 27. So it's not like it's game over yet. A lot of other players now starting to come down to the Osaki range. We got some 30s on Key and Leva, and level 8s pretty much across the board. Excelsior, I guess, was a bit early in his rounds for it, but we're within 2 rounds of the dreaded 20. That should be about the 9 cap right there. And if we are looking for that knight to go with Abaddon, Osaki's not finding it.
Not at all. Now, one thing that I do see is that the other player that is streaking, the only player that is streaking, Danny here, is rocking a very similar build that also has Abaddon in it. So there might even be some competition for Abaddons as everybody hunts for these Heartless units. And the two are facing off again. We're going to kind of see whose build is better off at the moment.
Ooh,
Things holding up pretty even for now.
The Marauder got this ult off. Actually, that was pretty impressive by her. But the Golem in the back just ended up being the knife into that win streak. So 3 streak for Osaki. Again, reverse Caster's Curse might be your thing here, Charmer. You point them out, we go over, and now all of a sudden dominating. Is the only one now streaking. Broke the streak of Danny.
This is how the Caster's Curse works. It's not that you always curse the player. It's the Caster's Curse that the caster is always wrong. So if we say that a player is doing something well, they're streaking, we highlight it, they're going to lose. But if I say, hey, Osaki is losing health, they've got to turn this around, they're going to do just that, because I was just, painting them in a perilous position. That's the real Caster's Curse.
All right, well, we'll have to see if Osaki can keep this streak. Has been doing fairly well. I just took a quick look at the scoreboard, and there are 6 players running 6 players into the Hunters, including Osaki here. So competition has been fierce. Here comes the barrels from Ed Wiener and his Jewel, and this Jewel is going to tank their way to almost a victory. Yeah, it will actually be that victory. He does go down, but has enough in the bag to take down that Mirana. That's going to be the first loss there of Osaki. And see, I choose Osaki and he loses. You choose him and he does fine. I don't like how this is ending up for me, Charmer.
Well, we're hitting that magic round 20. As I said, this is where the damage really starts to ramp up. And as we kind of cross this threshold, there's 2 things I want to highlight. One, Kui is in the danger zone. At 12 health, they're very likely facing elimination with a loss. And their build is a bit non-traditional. They have a 2-star Void Spirit that's, other than just being a 2-star, not contributing much. The other thing I want to highlight is for the past couple rounds, Vandersar appears to have been disconnected. So I really hope that
Ooh,
whatever
yeah.
their technical issue is, they're going to get that sorted out because this is a critical moment in the game.
Don't think there's even a pause functionality for this one either. So taking a quick look at Key, he's up against Furbu, who is leading the pack at 71. And again, Pudge is just so good against a lot of these corner comps, right? So many people are running into these hunters. The Pudge comes through, but unfortunately, again, Pudge just kind of left holding the bag. It will be Key with the victory as the hunters
they
are able
turned that around. It was looking pretty dire there, kind of in the middle of that particular skirmish, but they held their ground. And
It's those multi-attacks,
as I
man.
said before, yeah, I was just going to say quickly, as I said before, we have this Void Spirit that isn't contributing other than being a 2-star for the moment. But as I look at the bench, we see the Enigma and we see the Templar. So I think that Quee's just trying to hold on long enough to get Void turned on. And if you have Void plus this Hunter synergy, that could be a really big turning point for them.
Furbu, who takes the first hit in a while here from Key, actually just finished 6 Hunter. So we have 3 Hunters on 5 players, 6 on another, and then 2 others that just didn't even bother. Leva into 6 Knight. Excelsior with 4 Magic has not completed the 6 Magic whatsoever. Still following Key here as he is basically the one on the chop block, and Vander's Dota, as you said, is just not faring very well in the disconnected state either.
Yeah, you've got to feel really bad if you're Excelsior, knowing you're the only person going mages in the lobby. Everyone else is fighting for the same units, and you still haven't found what you need to find to finish your transition.
Oof. This could be it. Is that enough stars on the board? 2, 4, 6, 8.
Oh, that's definitely enough. With the extra round damage there, that's 15. And that's it. That's our first elimination. And as I said before, Vandersar still disconnected at a crucial time here. Will likely be the next player eliminated if they don't come back.
I don't know if we have any special rule sets for disconnections. I suspect due to the nature of the game, it's just kind of as it is. Has not updated anything. 66 gold, still sitting at 8 units. A few 9s. As I said, round 20, sometimes you do see those 9s poking up, but just going to take a look. Who does Vander even draw here? It's going to be Danny. So
Danny.
Should be a pretty easy win for Danny here.
Yeah, Danny's one of the players that did go up to 9. They do also have not only just Hunters turned on, but they've got a Medusa in the lineup as well, and they're going to make very short work.
Murdered.
Who, sitting on all that gold, hasn't made changes to their lineup in forever because of the disconnect.
Rip. Okay, well, believe it or not, Vandersar with disconnect doesn't go out last. So
yeah, they had a significant health lead before they disconnected. That's part of the reason that I feel kind of bad for Vandersar, because of this technical issue. Whatever it is on their end has caused them to plummet when they were doing very well up until that point.
Well, how the tables have turned. Ed Wiener back up at the top at 39. Furbu sitting at 38. Ed is streaking, but so is Osaki once more, since he is down here on the bottom with a fresh 2-star Drow. That should be a boon. And an Axe now in the lineup. We'll have to see if Osaki can hold on just a little bit longer to avoid bottom 4.
Well, this lobby, for the folks that are left, this top 6 here, a lot of parity. Only 17 health between first and last currently in the lobby. That's about one round's worth of damage. This could go in any direction here. Every round is going to be a very big deal from here on out, because all of these players are, relatively low. We're seeing health totals of 15 and 19 go out.
Ooh. That Marana arrow actually basically just one-shot that Medusa. I actually had this pegged for a Danny win, but Osaki, those insects are actually doing a little bit of work.
Spiders.
Needs 2 shots. Doesn't get it. So very close, Charmer. So very close. Did not expect the Marana arrow to one-shot the Medusa, though. That kind of gave him a spark of hope for a moment there.
Yeah, Marana is an incredibly powerful unit. I think that it is one of the better tier 4s currently in the game, just because how much damage the spear does, but also how long the stun is. It is already got that favorable Hunter alliance. The kind of hopping around that it does throughout the fight helps to kind of keep it alive, keep it, producing that consistent damage throughout a skirmish. I'm a big fan of Marana right now.
Man, Ed Wiener took a hit that round as well, kind of reset a lot of the streaks. Danny is still now streaking in at the top, but we're still here with our pal Osaki, the 4 Heartless, 3 Hunters, and now 3 Warlocks. The heals do a lot for Osaki, but that's still a lot of beef to cut through, and that Coddle just trampled the hopes and dreams of Osaki right there. 16 to take a hit, and we didn't even have the Hobgob bombs out.
Yeah, Excelsior finally hit that 6 mages. All of those units that they were hunting for came online. Keeper is still only a 1-star, but it doesn't matter. The rest of your units are dealing a lot of damage. And the things that I want to highlight is you have the 6 mage bonus, but on top of that, you have a Disruptor, a Shadow Fiend, and a Tide Hunter in your lineup. So all of those units will also be dealing the bonus magic damage. They're already solid damage dealers, and that's a lot of disruption as well. Disruptor and Tide Hunter, great stuns, great silences. This is a very good mages lineup, and it's coming online at the right time.
I think Excelsior was really hoping for a refresher on that tier. Ends up going for a mechanism instead. I saw a Bloodthorn, a Tombstone, some Moon Shards, and 2 Shivas. For some of these comps, Shivas could actually be absolutely devastating, considering there are so many hunters out there.
There are. The problem, though, is that with this mages lineup, you kind of sit in the corner to buy yourself enough time to make sure your casts go off. And I think that's why they opted for mechanism here, because it's just one more insurance policy to make sure that your units cast. Shiva is better off when you've got frontline units so you can hit the majority of the opposing lineup. And so while it's very tempting, I understand why they went with this decision.
That mechanism, given a little bit of a life here to Excelsior. 26 health, needs to win this for a pretty decent lead. And even with the Hobgob bombs, with 6 mages, doesn't seem like it's quite enough. But that Coddle Blast certainly brings everybody into that kill range. And we still got that Storm Spirit zip zooming around. So this should be a win for the mage. One more heal there from the Omni. Won't matter.
Looking dire for a bit, just like you said, but it does appear that Excelsior will take it down. And again, Keeper still just 1-star, Lich 1-star as well. If either of those 2-star, then you hit a position, and there is the Lich. So you've now got yourself in a position where you are dealing a lot of burst damage in any given round.
Well, if that Lich lives, he really underperformed, just like in life. That's why he's a Lich. Really underperformed a little bit in that round. So Excelsior at the top, Osaki at the bottom, still holding on. Ed Wiener, they're sitting at 4. We're going to stick with Excelsior to see how the mages do, since he is literally the only player left without hunters. That's a lie. Levi doesn't have any hunters here either, but we'll see if this Lich 2 can do any work.
If you're watching this, players, just know that we like to watch folks that go with non-traditional builds. So if you want camera time, don't play hunters, Kappa. But the mages, again, looking a little bit dire, but then once you see the casts start going out, things really turn around, and that's 15 damage they deal to Furbu. Danny does get eliminated that round by Ed Wiener, holding on with that 4 health, and we're waiting for the conclusion of an Osaki stays alive. So we have Excelsior and everyone else as far as the health totals going into round 27.
27 rounds. Man, we're really starting to drag this one out. But you're right, 26 health left in 27 rounds. It's basically do or die for everybody at this point. Like, there's no real way anybody can do less than 4 damage to each other, I do believe, this late into the game.
Yeah, so Excelsior, the only one who can, in all likelihood, probably lose one more and still be around. However, they did also 2-star that Keeper. So all of the pieces that they wanted online are officially there. They've got the CC, they've got the damage dealing. They basically are in the driver's seat, and they just will lose if there's bad RNG. Yeah, the horses come out and just delete the opposing squad.
Goodbye, Osaki. We knew ye well.
Well, that was Ed Wiener. Osaki is up against the
Goodbye,
Ghost,
Osaki. We knew.
Is now eliminated.
Wow, 3 people this round goes down.
Yeah,
Dang.
Leva dealt 23 damage to Furbu there, so very lopsided victory. And now we go into this heads-up round, and it is the streaking Excelsior now going up against Leva, who just hit level 10 and had an emphatic victory last round. They are the other non-hunter player. Just want to point that out, Lobby. This is the 6 Knights player. So it's just going to be a question of Will the mitigation of the Knights mean that they survive long enough to get the damage in? I don't know. This Lich is going to be very disruptive if it can stay alive with the Chain Frost.
It's 6 Knight, 2 scaled on top of it. Leva went 10 right before this round. Has that, I assume it's a Medusa to go with that Tide, but we knew that they had the Medusa. The Tide is in there now as well, and the damage is actually really significant here. Keeper of the Light still trying to lead the way. We do have that silence now coming through. The Hobgob ult is there, and the Knights don't have enough healing, even with 6 Knight, 2 scaled, a Medusa and a Tide. It just falls short against 6 mages.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight there, it wasn't just 6 mages. It was 6 mages, and then even your supplemental pieces were great magic dealers, right? You've got the Disruptor, you've got the Shadow Fiend, even Tidehunter with popping the tentacles in the front line. This was a very well-built lineup. Excelsior benefited from everybody else in the lobby trying.
Oh, I lost him.
To Excelsior. That was a very well-played round.
Whew. All right, so that's Group A, round 1 here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take a quick look to see if we actually have any of the other lobbies still going. And we actually have Underlords D in round 33. I can't imagine that there's too much left here on this one, Charmer. I'm going to take a quick jump into it and find out that it is, that's the wrong button. It is blank versus blank. No, it's Nero Time versus Quasar in round 33. 36 health to 4 with some Knights Heartless going up against Hunter's Void. Hunter's Void at 4 health and trying to stick long enough here to grab a first place.
Yeah, I mean, they've got that corner pretty well defended, so it's looking like they might stick this out, and they are going to be holding this off. The other player, not just Knights, does appear that they are also Legion Commander kind of focused as well. We see kind of a cornucopia of alliances represented there.
3-star Legion Commander. Oh. With 128 kills with a cloak?
Yeah, it's the raid boss Legion Commander, but the problem is that this Hunter build with the Void on top of it means you do have enough damage to take down the raid boss, and after that, I'm not seeing anything else on that lineup that really scares me.
Well, there's the Chrono Cube coming in, but unfortunately, it doesn't really look like it's going to be anything else there from the Faceless. The 2-star Tide trying to make some health happen. Health! 15,000 health Legion Commander is just running around, but it's still not enough. Percentage damage is not her friend. This is going to actually pretty good for Quasar because that corner, as you said, is basically a bunker at this point. It's super well defended, and now we're taking big chunks out of Nero Time, who did really well last week in the rounds. I am going to point out, it's not like Nero doesn't know how to play this game. I think he's a top 4 in the rankings here for Season 6, but Quasar has certainly found the God comp against something as beefy as a Legion Commander.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Nero was obviously performing very well. We saw the big health disparity when we did jump into this particular lobby. So credit to Nero. I think that this is just a case of Quasar finding the exact counter for this particular build. Any other time, you know, if you said to me, hey, you're about to play a game of Underlords and you're going to get, 100 plus kills on a 3-star Legion Commander with a cloak, I'd say, okay, I'm probably going to do pretty well. And a second place is certainly really well. But this, Hunter plus Void combination is able to shred through that. And even still now, we see this Legion Commander kind of stuck in the back, not really moving its way forward.
Oh, no. Oh,
and
no.
The minute it comes in range of these Hunters, it just goes down.
Yep,
and then there's nothing else on that lineup that scares me.
Never mind. I actually thought that perhaps that we'd made it happen here, but no. Nero Time with the biggest Legion Commander I've seen in Season 6. Still not enough to pull it a win up against Quasar. 2 scaled, 2 Heartless, 4 Hunter with Void, and something that kind of threw me a loop, Radiance on a Templar Assassin. And somehow the Templar Assassin actually never jumping anywhere was actually still here in this corner throughout that entire fight, Charmer. So that's an interesting way to play that unit. It's very much a defensive unit rather than using the pure power of the offensive Voids with her.
Yeah, I like kind of using it as a front line. When you look at this lineup, you've got some other frontline units, but having that unit with the high evasion and it does have a ranged attack, so if you position it there so that it can attack the opposing front line, it won't jump away. It just further stalls the opponent from getting to those key hunter units, and I think that was the plan, and it certainly worked. So congratulations to Quasar taking that down. Nero, hang your head high. Like that was an amazing Legion commander, and you just walked into a hard counter. That's all that happened there.
It does feel a little unfortunate, but yeah. All right, so I don't actually have any of the other Underlords ready to roll, so I guess we will just wait for the results to come in. Play sound in desktop. I think that's the button that we were looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that you want. So it should be a checkbox, and you want to just make it so that when you're on your desktop, the sound still plays, essentially. We need that soothing Underlords music.
Yeah, soothing indeed. All right, so we're going to wait for the call that says that we are ready to roll. But, that's round one in the bag. Again, Magic. We talked a little bit about the fact that this is a game where you can have multiple different builds. You can go for multiple different styles. And while it still was a pretty dominant Heartless Hunters, they didn't place top two. Right? This was
I mean that's just the nature of, I think, those builds kind of cannibalizing one another, and we've seen this time and time again through various events. The last Dota Underlords event that I casted, for example, at the time, Savages were the meta, and we saw lobbies where there would be 6 players going Savages, but then you would see like 6 Knights come in and steal wins throughout the day, right? It wasn't like a one-off thing. Like, it would just keep happening because players were properly recognizing that, hey, if everybody else is going to do this build, all of these other units are uncontested, and then I can get whatever I need. I can assemble it. I can maybe even hit some 3 stars. So mages are a pretty common thing that people deviate into. As I said before, sometimes spirits. Knights are another solid comp again. Group A there that took 2nd place. So Underlords is a game about adaptability, and yes, there are certain things that are proven and that you can absolutely win with. And I'm not saying that those hunter comps won't take victories. I'm sure that we will see some victories because it's a very good composition, but if everybody's doing it, if 75% of the lobby of 6 players are on one comp and you can just take something uncontested, you're mathematically improving your chances significantly. So hats off to the 2 who recognize that, and they finished 1st and 2nd as a result.
So things that we didn't see were, I don't think we saw any summoners. There's a few primordials just for the extra benefit of having those eidolons at your service, but no Savages, no Brawny, no Summoner. We had some Druids filling in for a little bit, right? Some 3-star trees wandering around. But by the end of it all, it does seem that the meta for the top builds, it still does lean towards the Heartless Hunters into Void if you can roll it. Not going to say that it's impossible. We just saw Nero, with the biggest Legion command I've ever seen, drop to that percentage damage. But with the nerfs to it, because the Voids definitely did get hit, Bloodseeker's definitely been hit, so we don't see him as a 3-star pretty much anymore either. We have opened it all up, but I'm just waiting to see a Brawny win. We had a few Brawny top 3 finishes last week, and if you can actually just go for those uncontested units, you can get some pretty significant results.
Yeah, I think that Brawny is just one of those things where you kind of have to hit it early because of the nature of not like in the mid game. If you see nobody has went Brawny, you can just pick it up and start doing well. You really need to have it at the beginning and snowball. So of the other potential builds that could contest these meta hunter builds, Brawny of them, but it's just not the sort of thing where you can say well, nobody's going Brawny, so I'm going to jump into it in round 13, right?
Yeah,
I think that's that's just the detriment to that one. I'd like to see it. I love seeing some giant raid boss units. That's why I'm a big fan of that Legion commander we just saw. I even like it when you go for Brawny and you throw in the Legion commander as well, just for the old giggles, but I think that it's just going to be really dependent on of all the units as well, Beastmaster, because there's so many folks that are kind of fighting for those hunter units, right? Contesting those hunter units. I think the key, if you want to go brawny, is finding an early Beastmaster and an early Bristleback and really riding those two to rack up the early kills.
Double Bristleback in the first round is a dream that happens every now and then. Going to move over to looking at the season 6, week 3 scoreboard. And as it comes into all the scores being updated, Excelsior will take first with 15 points. Den, Blazed, Quasar, we saw in his group, take first there as well. Exanum, Dr. Necro, and Carnito. Carnito, spam this Dorito to help out Carnito, I believe is his copy pasta. So we might see some of that here in chat coming up. And Explain. They should be our contestants for Group A next round, since they all came first in their different groups. You can see Neurotime down there a little bit in Group B. But we will be getting this going here soon, ladies and gentlemen. Charmer and I are going to take a quick break, consult with the admins, get into the next parties, and we should see the next game here fairly soon. In fact, I say that, but they've already sent out the party codes. So we're going to get that rolling here soon enough. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And when we do, Group A will continue into round 2. All right. Well, on that note, Charmer, we are back. Week 3, round 2. As we come into Underlords Pro, we are all set and ready in the lobby. We should be just going through here momentarily. But we are going to be following Group A, so all the winners from round 1 moving into round 2. We will see at least one familiar face. Well, 2, I guess, because we saw Quasar win there as well. But Hunter Void winning out in one lobby, 6 Magic in another. Haven't heard of anything else crazy out there, but yeah, we'll find out as we go into round 2 here.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to how this one plays out, seeing if we basically get a more diversified lobby, right? The last ones that we watched, we're not seeing, hunters necessarily dominate. We did see the Hunter Void at the end, kind of shredding that Legion Commander with the Quasar game.
So good.
But, overall, a lot of people fighting for the same compositions that aren't necessarily guaranteeing a top 2 style finish. Want to see if we, see the same trends, right? 5, 6 players going for the Hunters and then a couple of outliers, or if we get a bit more parity and diversification throughout the lobby.
So, coming into this, what level is your battle pass?
My battle pass is only at like 51 at the moment, sadly. I'm a bit behind. My city crawl's all done, but my battle pass is only at 51.
I'm still working on
I cover a lot of different games, and so I only get like 1 or 2 Underlords games in a day, usually on mobile.
Yeah, the fact that you can just pick this up and play it on anything has always been a strong contender for kind of my choice of a game. You take it from your PC to your bed, potty break, whatever works for you, right? It's very seamless, very good, and not something that we've really been able to do in some of the other games. It's just another feature that sets this one apart.
Yeah, up until recently, I don't want to name competitors, but another one recently hit mobile, and so that's part of the reason that my battle pass is not as high as it normally would be, because where I would normally just play a lot of Underlords on mobile, I've got like 3 games I'm playing on mobile now, so it's chewing into my time.
It's the mobile generation. It's what everybody has a device for. Not everybody in the world has a computer, but you can damn well bet that they have 3 phones stuffed in their pocket somewhere. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you got your personal phone, your work phone, and your burner phone. So,
or your tablet.
Absolutely, we all have, multiple phones. No, I don't. I only have 1 phone, but still.
Why are we warrior human in this scene production? Simply because that's the only thing I took a screenshot of. I'm sorry. Conka's gone. What's the next new warrior human? I don't know. Game gave me warrior humans for the screenshot. That's all I can tell you for that one. Serious?
Yeah, why are we warrior human? I mean, human makes sense. I get that, but I don't think warrior would be the class that I would ever pick for myself.
Dude,
That's
Knockout is a fun and strange and magical place to be,
I do really love the knockout mode. I think that that's one of my favorite things that Underlords has actually done to diversify themselves from the rest of the auto battler genre. Being able to play faster games, because yes, like being on mobile is great, but it's also game length that matters. And so, knowing that I can get something done in 15 minutes versus, a 20 to 30 minute time commitment, one of those is much easier to do, like when you're riding passenger on a commute, and the other one requires you to kind of devote time. So I love the knockout mode.
All right, just took a quick look at the scores as I had to talk to the admins there, and now game has started. Yeah, we're the best. Apparently, it is up to me to start the game, so there we go. That is news to me, but now we are good for that one. So thank you, admins. I will keep that in mind. Learning a lot today, Charmer. So as you said, this is Group A. We're now into round 2 here of week 3, and these guys have all won their first lobbies. So as we come into it, we're not going to be super worried about people not putting stuff on the board, like Explain here, who takes the immediate 3. Super interesting stuff. Blazed is a name that we have seen repeatedly. Definitely a big streamer out there. Seen him in chat a whole bunch, various discords. He'll take a victory on that one. TDU Dr. Necro and TDU Carnito, or Carnieto? I'm pretty sure it's Carnito. The TDU guys, they're sponsors here at Underlords Pro. We do a lot of this in association and with the support of them. So good to see them in the tournaments and winning games on top of that.
Yeah,
Tournament.
these are winners because we are in the winners bracket, if you will. Now we did also see one TDU member in our A lobby last time around as well. So a lot of representation here. We love the folks that support the game, support the community, are very active. And as you said, Blazed is a name you should recognize if you are paying attention to Underlords, specifically like the competitive scene. This is somebody that I have casted a number of times and is always a great player, solid performances all around.
And speaking of solid performances, again, sitting here at 100, finding Excelsior. Excelsior has the 2 Vigilant and the 2 Heartless. Doesn't seem to matter because Chaos Knight is just smacking them in the face. 1 second stun. Not the best RNG on that one. Not sure it'll matter too much. Can a Drow take down? Nope, definitely not.
Chaos I don't think so. Chaos Knight this early on, it's one of those units that at 1 star feels like a 2-star unit this early, and it's even tougher to bring down when it has that chainmail on it. Chaos Knight, Bristleback is another one of those units. Especially the pre-nerf Bristleback was a house. But even now, there's a few units that are just really hard to kill. They're very tough. Chat likes to make fun of me sometimes because I love the word resilient, but I think that's the proper way to describe these units. And we see Chaos Knight come out in favor of Savage.
Savage, just 3 Savage. Okay, he had 2 Savage last round, Blaze did, but all right. I feel like Tusk is almost like a very deceptively damagey warrior. He that punch can actually like just solo groups by the end of it. I mean, not today,
and he's
but
he's even more impressive when he gets a damage item. Not going to get it done against a 2-star unit. Again, during the last lobby, we kind of mentioned in the early game, unit quality definitely trumps composition in any way, shape, or form. So that 2-star Weaver just going to prove to be too much. And we already have 1 player going with the early level 4. It's our only streaking player. Dr. Necro has went to level 4.
So 2 Heartless, 2 Troll, I assume, is the big reason. Does have that 2-star Dazzle, was the only one with the 2-star Dazzle before... we were just watching Blazed, yeah? No, Blaze just lost to Necro? I believe it was Necro, just had the second 2-star of the game. But 4 units this early should maintain that streak. If you're going to go 3-0, might be worth it, right? To make sure that you can keep going, because you need, 7 in a row for that bonus.
Yeah, if you want to complete your streak, then you certainly need to defend it, if that makes sense. And so leveling up, not necessarily the worst decision in the world here. I like it. When you get an early 2-star and you've got good quality units, I think making this jump makes sense.
He's thinking. Okay, no cloak. Apparently I'm on Necro for some reason, but Necro had the choice between a Vanguard and a cloak. My bad.
Yeah, we're on Necro
right,
because Necro is the streaking player, defending it.
Sorry, I had to message someone something very quick, so lost my train of thought. But cloak versus
send your nudes after the cast, man. We got Underlords to cover.
I mean, it was to your girlfriend. No, I was just kidding.
Don't tell my wife.
Secret safe with me. What do you think of the choice, though, between a cloak and a Vanguard with this early in the game with no real clear comp in mind?
I really like the Vanguard because the Vanguard is going to maintain its value throughout the course. If you don't know what your composition is going to be, or maybe you're running units as band-aids, right? Kind of a patchwork build at the moment, and it's not something you want to commit to long term. It doesn't make sense to go with the cloak because later on you're going to transition units in that won't have high kill counts. Mm-hmm. So if this is a player who doesn't want to stick with Troll Heartless for a long period, then going with the Vanguard makes an awful lot of sense to me. That being said, the other reason that I think that you pick something like Vanguard is because even the units that you might keep around, so if you're going to stick with Heartless, yeah, you've got, say, like Pudge up there, right? Beautiful unit. But Pudge isn't going to rack up the kills. He just kind of is a big meat shield, and Cloak helps with that, but only if you're getting kills. He's not the right unit for it. So again, I think Vanguard was the right decision for Dr. Necro.
quite the full bench as we're still looking around for different compositions to be running here into the mid game. But Pudge is becoming that mainstay. He's in every early game Heartless comp, it seems, these days, and the power to bring those hunters out of the corner goes pretty unparalleled. And speaking of getting out of that corner, this Dazzle is kind of in a very dire situation. 1-on-3, and I don't think he's going to have the mana. He definitely doesn't have the cooldown or the health to finish that streak out. So Dr. Necro got 5 in before finally dropping some points. Does break the streak.
Yeah, their friend from TDU there kind of dethroned them, but it makes sense. Again, unit quality matters more than composition. The opponent had more 2-stars, proved to be the difference maker. Not really surprised by that outcome. And I think that, as Dr. Necro is navigating this, they're trying to make sure they hit interest levels, but also searching for, the right units, the right pairs. And based on this bench, it looks like Knights is going to be a big part of the game plan going forward for Dr. Necro.
Knights. That's 4 Knights right there. Already has that bat out, and a Dazzle with the bat for the troll bonus on top of it. It's not working out for him right now, as he will drop to the Eidolons. But something to note is that Den is 3 Hunter, 2 Insect with 2 Vigilant, and he's now on, I think, a 4 streak coming into round 8. So we'll have to see if he's going to be interested in completing that round. Has a few frontliners he can sub in, but does not look like he has a Pudge, so he will not be forming into a Heartless.
And what's interesting is it looks like we actually might have some Knights competition. I don't know if Excelsior is going to stick with it long term, but they've already got some Knights in the lineup there. And as I said before, Dr. Necro here looking like they're going to go Knights long term. So some non-hunter builds that might actually be competing with each other for once. Mm-hmm. I'm excited.
Time to break some faces.
We'll have to see if it will actually pan out that way. If you do have that many Knights this early on, it's, as I said, a good sign. Man, okay, Den, you just punched that guy right to death before the Magnus could actually do anything about it. 2-star Weaver rolling around with 3 Hunters and those 2 Insects. If you don't have AoE like a Bristleback or something, it can be rather hard to deal with the Insects, but too many 2-stars on the board, especially with that Weaver, and Carnito will break the streak of Den. That Weaver, we saw him earlier with that Ogre Cap, is just doing work and taking names, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Weaver is a great unit to get an early 2-star because it's a consistent source of damage, but also kind of like Marana, it moves around the board, so it's more likely to avoid damage, kind of stay alive a bit longer into the game. And it looks like Den is picking up a Stonehall Pike on that Weaver that's already got 6 kills. That could end up being very, very hard hitting later on in the game.
Is that Weaver the only one with kills? Yeah, the only one with any significant amount of kills.
Windranger has 2, Drow has 1, but Weaver definitely has the majority. And again, as I said, it makes sense because it's the poor man's Marana, right? It kind of hops around the field, it gets the damage in, sticks around for the majority of the fight, and I got a feeling it's going to rack up more along the way here.
Yeah, it brings insects to the table there as well. The only real way to clear these insects is the cleave coming out of Magnus, and it's not cleaving the insects, but man, these druids getting those extra stars, especially this early into the game, is just too much for Den to deal with. So he'll take 7 from Blazed on that victory. Really interested to see who will actually be going for the streak since they've all been broken at this point, but it's just not happening. But this should be Underlords coming in. It is something to note here that Underlords might actually be affected by the contraptions. The contraptions, we got 4 players out with barricades.
And 3 in Essex picked very quickly, a couple of Hobgins and a Essex. So
it's a lot.
Again, kind of what I was talking about that last time around. I think a Essex is quickly becoming the kind of go-to or the favorite for a lot of players. More folks with Enthrall this time. It's an even 3-3 split between the Golem and the Enthrall. And then Hobgin is a 1-1 split as well.
You just hide him in the corner, use those barricades. I guess we're still on Den for this round. He's a sad clown. Poor guy. I did actually find, not a Pudge, but he did find a Shadow Demon to swap in. So 2 Insect, 3 Hunter, 2 Heartless. This is something I like to open up with in Ranked, for example. But that Razor just cleared out all those bugs, right? You get some of this AoE in there, and the bugs just stop really putting up the numbers. And it's going to be close. Hobgob doesn't do it. So close.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna laugh every time you say Hobgob now.
God dang
It's
it.
a common
Hobgen.
mistake.
I don't know why I want to call him Hobgob. I really don't.
Because there's a very famous Spider-Man villain by the name of Hobgoblin, and I actually hear a number of other Underlords players and even some casters call him Hobgoblin straight up.
Weird.
You're just shortening it to Hobgob.
I know it's supposed to be Hobgen.
And I get it, but it's Hobgen. Or it might even be Hobgen. Maybe it's a J, like in GIF.
Okay, come on. Do not bring this up into a program.
Yeah, I reject that. It is definitely GIF 100%. But yeah, it's Hobgen. But now I'm going to laugh. For the folks at home who are wondering why I'm laughing, during one of the breaks, we were talking about how to pronounce the Underlords. And my co-caster here said, well, it's really hard to mess up Hobgob. And I was like, it's Hobgen.
We're trying to do pronunciation tactics, and it just doesn't help if I have the wrong consonants, I guess. Ugh, feels bad, feels bad, feels bad. Okay, feels good for Den. He won, not streaking yet. Let's take a quick look at Exanim here at the top. With those Hunters, 4 Heartless, 2 Vig, and those barricades with a Demonic Golem. So, as I said, a lot of barricades out there this round. 4 barricades and a target dummy, and every single set belongs to an Anesix. So, man, those corner comps. There's going to be a big demand for Disruptor and Pudge later.
I was just going to say that, absolutely. Pudge is, as we mentioned before, a bit of a mainstay already, but Disruptor, I think, is going to be a very contested unit as we hit those tier 4s. We've got a couple of folks already with a few tier 4s. We see Necrophos here on the field already, but Disruptor, I have to think folks are going to want to be getting a hold of. These corner compositions are going to be interesting because when they go up against each other, you're kind of waiting for each of them to meet in the middle in many respects. Like the front lines are going to die quickly, and then it's kind of, you know, whose AI takes the bait first in many ways.
Going to take a quick look over to Quasar as round 13 comes in, immediately just picks up the Mask of Madness and throws it on top of the Wind Ranger. This is something that I have just come into knowledge about, but silencing the Wind Ranger is quote-unquote a DPS increase because she will not take the time to cast her ability. So a lot of the time I see it on top of the Drow, but I've seen now quite a few players throwing it on top of the Wind Ranger instead.
Yeah, it's interesting because the silence is 100% the reason that you get the damage increase. The attack speed is not as effective on her simply because she already has such a natural fast attack speed. Like her native attack speed is one of the best in the game already. So doing more attack speed on something that's already blazingly fast isn't necessarily a huge increase, but making sure that she does not take the time to cast her arrow, that she's just attacking, getting that consistent damage, it definitely does usually help with the damage output. You see it more so when Void comes online. So if this is a composition that is thinking, hey, later on I'm going to try to add in Void, this mask on a Wind Ranger makes an awful lot of sense.
Now, I say that, but every time I see somebody do it, their next round is almost always a loss, and or the Wind Ranger underperforms.
Well,
take it with a bit of a grain
in
of
fairness
salt.
here, though, I do need to highlight this is a 1-star Wind Ranger that just fought in round 13. So unit quality certainly, I think, played a bit into that.
Well, the round that we saw this happen here for Quasar, as I guess we're sticking with him for this one, she did 7.4k, and I'm willing to bet majority of that was her arrow. But again, it's just something I've noticed. I say something and people do bad. It's just a gift. charm. It's just a gift. But Hobgen doing work on this one with the attack speed coming in. Has to deal with that golem on his face, but has more than enough support to make that happen. So Quasar will not be doing any streaking. And it's up to Explain, and Explain does actually win up against Carnito. Will start streaking with his 3, but Exanum, as I just kind of bounce around, hey, Explain has 6 magic. That's pretty cool. Exanum is the one now kind of leading the pack for the streak, so we're going to stick with him to see if he can finish it out. The 4 Heartless, 3 Hunter, 2 Warlocks, but it's Disruptor Necrophos. I was expecting a Shadow Fiend.
Yeah, I know that we're going to be watching Exanum. One last thing I wanted to highlight about Quasar is you see from the notifications there, Drow and Wind Ranger finally 2-starred, and their bench does also showcase 3 Void units. They haven't swapped them yet. Likely they're waiting to 2-star some of them before they make that transition, but I think that that's going to certainly kind of help Quasar turn the corner there. We saw them struggle, but I think it's because they're in that awkward transition point, and that makes sense. Between like rounds 13 and 19, that's when most folks start transitioning to the late game. They're just kind of starting the process early.
Yeah, it feels a little early to put them on board, but it is good to know that they are going to be solidifying those tactics. These Marana arrows from afar are just almost like perma-stunning that lone druid up in the corner here, as Explain will take, Exanum will take his 7th streak. One more, and he will complete that one up. So 87 health, is on a win streak, is doing real well with that Marana. Puts it in the corner and makes sure that's the one that gets hooked. Oh my goodness, just threw a Medusa into the mix.
Yeah, this is a great looking squad here for Exanum. You can see exactly why they're streaking. Tier 2 a Heartless, they have the Hunters on. Have Warlocks turned on with Disruptor and Necrophos, both great units. We talked about how Disruptor is going to be an important unit, but I think Medusa will as well, because with these bunker comps, as people kind of approach your corner, she can get a very wide cone stun off, and we see some folks turn to stun there. Marana still doing amazing with the spear. You know, for a long time I had this kind of running joke with Underlords units where I was saying that all the best units rode on animals, because there was a time when like Luna was an all-star, and ironically we see a Luna go in temporarily to turn on the 4 Vigilant. Marana is amazing, Disruptor amazing. So I had this running joke where units that ride other animals or units that ride units are basically like 2 units in one. They're just that strong.
They're just that much better. I was really curious to see which way Exanum here was going to roll with a Moon Shard versus Cadence Blade, and has that Medusa. Opted to go into the Moon Shard instead. So no passive split attacks doing percentage damage. It will just simply be a lot of attack speed. Now you can see Exanum, he's done with the streak, finished it up, picks up a Void Spirit, likely to be looking to transition just like what we saw there with Quasar. But there's a 30 health difference between the two of them.
Yeah, there's a pretty big health difference, and kind of looking at the lobby, Dr. Necro is getting pretty low here as well as we approach that magic round 20. So
you want to hop over to him? Because Exanum looks like he has this all in the bag.
yeah, I mean, this one's going to go pretty quickly. We saw a number of upgrades for Exanum. That 2-star Necrophos is going to be a pretty big deal for the next couple of rounds. But we can check out Dr. Necro, who
he's winning.
Looks like they're going to get a win here, which is good. But looking at this composition, I can see why they've been struggling, because I don't know what the identity of this is.
It's kind of all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like they're still, at the moment anyway, just playing anything they can that 2 stars. Now, I will say this. I think one of the most underappreciated alliances in the game is Brutes. And they've now hit the tier 2 for Brutes. That is a lot of damage reduction. I think people just really underestimate how much damage reduction that is. You can make the other units feel like they're hitting you with wet noodles. And I like that with the hat here, not only do they turn it on, but they turn it on Lone Druid. And having Brute on a ranged unit is good because you spread that damage reduction around. The way that the Brute Alliance works is they target an enemy that doesn't have the debuff. And so if you've got it on a ranged unit with the hat here, you can just keep spreading it, and it mitigates a lot of damage from the other side.
It's just uncanny that you're just telling us the virtues of having this brute on the LD, and he gets immediately hooked and murdered.
Yeah, well,
he went down first. Oh, it felt so bad.
It's a caster's curse, right? Like, I'm talking about how something's cool, and then they're like, yeah, but Pudge still exists. And the other half of this is while I'm a big advocate for Brute, like I said before, the rest of this squad just doesn't have an identity. Usually when I see Brutes online like this, it is tied with some sort of like decent damage dealer, right? Whether that's hunters or maybe it's splash of something else. But like right now, I look at this composition and Shadow Fiend is kind of it for your damage. You've got some frontline, you've got the sweet damage reduction from the Brute, but outside of Shadow Fiend, you're just like not really doing a lot to kill the enemy. You're just hoping that you win via survival. Now they're going to pull it off here, so again, congratulations, hats off. But I don't think this is going to hold up long term. Yeah, I think that they still have this. There's just too much going in their favor. That bear, I will say this: that bear, when they can start getting 2-star druids online, right? Because the treant is still 1-star and the lone druid's still 1-star. So if they can even just 2-star them so that you can accidentally get like the 3-star lone druid, I think that this might be able to turn a bit of a corner. But
his bench says a very different story.
This is rough.
His bench is not supportive of that theory at all.
No, of course not.
No, it feels bad. All right, so Necro 1-1 as we watch him through. Exanim on another streak. What a god. But we're going to take a look at the bottom of the bracket as Excelsior, with a little bit of a druid splash in with the Heartless Hunters here, still insects at round 20, is on the chop block. 6 health to go, has to go up against a Faceless Void, and that Pudge is going to get nothing out of him at all. So the Pudge War is going the way of Quasar. Excelsior getting pretty well controlled here, still safe behind that bunker, but that's going to be a golem now dropped into the back line. And well, we got some insects.
This is going to be close, but I think that Quasar is going to end up pulling this one out.
And that will be it for Excelsior.
And that will be it for Excelsior. So one of the things that I really like about what Quasar's done, I talked about their transition the last time I looked at them, right when we were pulling away. What Quasar has done is they've got the hunters, but they've turned on Void, and then specifically they've added that Faceless, right? So Faceless Void, with so many of these corner-based kind of bunker compositions, with a good jump and a good cube, can really shift the way these games go. Your corner will be entirely out of the cube. Their corner will be locked down. You can push a lot of damage during those windows. Again, Hunter and Void already a just naturally strong composition together. I really feel like Quasar is putting themselves in a good position to push this to the late game.
Well, we'll see who Quasar gets as a buddy. It's going to be a bot. Well, that's kind of boring. Well, it's going to be not a bot.
It's not a bot.
I guess it's a clone.
A clone. Oh, clone's a good one. See, I always refer to it either a shadow, a shade, a ghost, kind of like that theme. But that was a great example right there, right? You had that cube in the corner, hits almost all opposing units. Your corner still entirely untouched, free to rain damage. A little bit dicey when that keeper went off, but you were able to survive and pull out another victory. I really like where Quasar is going with this composition.
Well, unfortunately, Dr. Necro's identity crisis will resolve into 7th place, as he is now out, loses to Explain, who at 39 health is the only magic user here in this lobby. Has a Bloodbound in there. That must be a hat. Yeah, it's a hat on Arc Warden with an Ogre Magi sacrifice up front. So 6 magic, 4 Primordial, and a Bloodbound. Interesting little splash. So he will defeat Dr. Necro. Carnito is actually not, that's Blaze. Carnito is the next one up with lowest health. We might be saying goodbye to both TDU entries here this round.
Well, it looks like Carnito is up against Explain, the magic user. And one of the things that I find interesting about Explain's setup is they have a 2-star Keeper of the Light, and they don't have Refresher Orb on it. Like, I am just baffled by this decision.
Still gets 2 shots off though. The horses do come through. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
as you
but
said, it's a little bit of a
the time
strange
between
idea.
the casts, yeah, the time between the casts feels like far too long. And
It's on
normally,
Morph.
Refresher Orb is like the marquee item for Keeper of the Light.
He
I
has
also just real quick want to highlight the positioning. Crystal Maiden, in my opinion, needs to be swapped with where Arc Warden was. They're making that change now. And the reason for that was because of Pudge, right? You didn't want Pudge to be eating anything other than Crystal Maiden. Everything about that set up before. Okay, so here they're at least putting it on Disruptor. This I can get behind if you don't want to put it on Keeper. Disruptor is the next best unit, but that setup last round was really weird.
It definitely kind of missed the mark. Explain took 14 health for it, I do believe. And now there's one silence. Will we get off another? It does have the cooldowns ready. Okay, and that's going to be the Keeper now kind of rolling through. Not really too much of a problem, except I say that, and the Golem just turns it right back around. There's the next silence, and it's just not enough. So Explain. Oof. Down to 21, but Carnito is the one to be eliminated. Blaze to take victory there, and that leaves our TDU entries back-to-back 7th and 6th.
And Exanum still streaking, still maintaining that really big health lead over the rest of this lobby.
He has the net worth lead by a hair, but it's still there. If you look from the top to the bottom, there's about 37 gold between comps right now. We're on Explain for this one, by the way.
One of the things I really like about Exanum's composition is they weren't afraid to stick Lich in to a composition that isn't a mage composition, isn't a magic heavy one. It is turning on tier 2 of Heartless, so like that's part of it, but they've got another Lich on their bench, so they are looking to 2-star it. They have a Refresher Orb on it. I think that they recognize how powerful Chain Frost is, and they're saying, hey, the debuff this provides is great, and if I can just get 2 quick casts off with it, the rest of my squad is going to take care of everything. And they completed their streak, is what I'm trying to get to as I stumble over my words.
That's the second streak, at least, that Exanum has finished.
Yeah, they are 19-4 right now. The next closest person in terms of record is 14-10, so really big disparity.
As I said, the net worth has kind of run away a little bit, 50 between the teams now. 10 units as well. Exanum making good use of that gold. 3 warrior to go in with the Troll Warlord and the stun on Medusa. We're going to look at Blaze, though, as things have taken a turn from the worse. Exanum might be leading, but Blaze is trailing. Has himself this corner comp, the no Void, but does have the Hunters, has that Heartless, has a Medusa, and now a Tombstone with the taunt in there as well, hoping for some zombies. This is do or die time for Blaze as he takes Onyx.
Yeah, this is looking like it was going to be a great keeper, but again, not enough. I can't help but question, even still, with Explain at 1 health, this decision
refresher?
to not put the orb on your keeper. You're mages. You're a glass cannon. You do not have a front line. You are just trying to survive to get as many casts off as possible. Keeper is far and away your biggest damage dealer. Why don't you want him to do that twice very, very quickly? It's just baffling to me. I understand the disruption from Disruptor and the appeal to that, but Disruptor's damage pales in comparison, and the silence is not relevant against Hunters. Hunters don't care if they're silenced. They will just keep pulling back their bowstrings, letting the arrows fly. You need to nuke them, and we see him finally move the orb. So please let this turn this around for Explain.
I think he was also looking to get that second Coddle in, looking at the bench. There's a very low chance you're going to get a 3-star Coddle in a solo game like this. Duos, it's a little bit easier. You can look for it twice. Ooh, the Void. The Void's in position. This could be a really good queue, but it's going to be tied Hunter instead.
And then
off first.
Keeper throws the horses in the wrong direction the first time and the second time. So this is just gonna be a bad round of RNG. I can't help but feel like Explain just bled too much health before they made that swap, though.
Well, maybe he can explain himself a little bit later on, but for now, he will be the next one knocked out. We got our top 4. Blazed, I believe the word is scammed his way into it. He is sitting here on the edge, but into the top 4 he goes, which I do believe means points for him. I could be wrong on that one. I have to double check, but still, top 4 placement with this comp of 4 Heartless, 4 Hunter, and the 3 Vigilant. Has a refresher of his own, and it's on the Bear. But it doesn't
Yeah,
look
the
like...
Bear is a great place to have it. I love that play. I am also a big fan of this Mirana in the back with the Moon Shard. She's going to put in a lot of work there as well. Good positioning with the Medusa. I mean, you say scammed, but overall, it looks like Blazed has been playing this well. It's just a very contested composition. And, you know, right now they're up against somebody that had a 2-star Medusa, 2-star Necrophos over there. So this is going to be close.
Everybody just took a little bit of a pause, like, do I move? Do they move? Do I move? Do they move?
Yeah,
and
this is that
Blazed.
corner, and Mirana. Like I said, if you ride something in Underlords, you're just a better unit than everybody else. Mirana putting on a clinic, over 15,000 damage this round and counting.
Okay.
With those impressive stuns.
That's loss number 5 for Exanum. In 27 rounds, that is finally his 5th loss. So maybe Blaze is actually going to be doing okay. Den, however, took a big hit. He's going to be down on the chop block. We have a comment in chat says there's been 0 pudge all game. I'm going to contest that a little bit because everybody, well, almost everybody remaining has
Den
a
the
pudge.
player. So as we look at Den, who has that 4 health left, but they are at level 10. That's Den the player in our chat. And so Den is saying, I saw no pudge. This is why they only have tier 1 of the Heartless, but they do have
Hi,
Void
Den.
turned on.
Good call, Charmer. Okay. Yeah, it does look like he has a bit of a lack of that. But let's see if the Voids can do it. Double Chrono Cube on top of each other. You see the Shadow Fiend trying to make work. The Void Spirit reducing armor here and there. This is actually looking pretty okay for Den. Gets that attack speed bonus. Templar in the front, just trying to be that tank. He has that refraction up, and it's working out.
Yeah.
Absorbing so much damage. That 2-star Weaver could be a threat, but it's not near enough. That's going to be a double elimination as Quasar's out. Blazed is gone as well. This leaves us with the overwhelming health advantage of Exanum to take on Den for top 2.
Yeah, that Void in the back, there was so much disruption. Worked out very well.
Come on.
This is going to be a
It's
tough
Cadence.
decision, and they do go with the Cadence here for the percentage. Where are they going to put it is now the real question.
My understanding when I did my research is that Medusa's kind of the go-to for it. We don't have a
but
Medusa
we don't
on the
have
field.
a Medusa, and that's why I'm saying, where does this end up going?
Put it on a
Because-
Disruptor maybe? Yeah. Oh, Void Spirit instead.
No, they're gonna go on
75
Void
damage
Spirit,
on that
which I-
Void Spirit, right? So
Yeah, I do find that a little bit interesting, but not
gotta go
completely out of the ordinary. I thought we might see it on the Drow, if I'm being honest.
Cube and Cube. We had the Tide Hunter go off. There goes the Necro.
Oh,
just
that's a lot of beef still in that back line, though, and this is going to be an easy win for Exanum, who just commanding lead throughout this entire game, finishes with 78 health. Congratulations to Exanum. That was incredibly well played. Got some help from the shop. We're not going to lie there, but beautifully done.
I mean, we had Troll Warlord, Lich, and a Medusa, a 2-star Medusa for Exanum there at the end. So not only are those like the ace units, the tier 4s did really good for him there as well. So well done. Exanum with the commanding net worth lead will take that round, get first place. We'll continue on into Group A for the next round. So well done, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just take a quick look to see who else is still rolling. Get an update from some of the other groups. So let's take a quick gander. It will be round 33 on the I group. That's the only one I have any eyes on, Charmer.
Yeah, I was just checking with the admins, and it sounds like all the groups are essentially finished, so that might be the only one still going.
Frostworm versus Ver in Group I. 6 health to 3 health. Frostworm, or Frostworn. Sorry, not Frostworm. More Hunters, more Heartless, and 2 Savage splashed into that. Might be enough. Nope. Yeah, it was enough. Apparently it
Yeah,
was.
I was gonna say I'm kind of digging this 3-star lone druid putting in the work there.
I find it interesting it was decided, but we get to catch up to the end, so it must be a replay thing. But 3-star Lone Druid, as you said, doing a bit of splash. So that would have been, so it was Magnus and the Druid, and both of them were 2-star, I imagine. Oh, it was a 3-star Magnus forcing into a 3-star Lone Druid. I really want to know how that progression happened.
That's good enough. I mean, sometimes a shop just gives you a gift, right? If you start with druids to use as like a early and mid game kind of combo to transition to later, but then you just accidentally fall into a bunch of Magnuses, it can be worth it to keep them. Specifically Magnus, because it does give you that savage bonus with Lone Druid. Lone Druid is obviously the best of the druids, kind of that marquee. But if you get that 3-star for Magnus, you're guaranteeing a 3-star for Lone Druid, and that bear is obnoxious. Even after a couple of adjustments, a few nerfs over time, it's still very, very effective. And so if you can slide it in, it can do a lot of work for you.
So that means for Group A, the only repeat that we're seeing is Exanum. Should be 7. Well, maybe not 7, but it should be a few new fresh faces as we go into round 3. But to recap for round 2, we saw some Voids, we saw a lot of Heartless Hunters. The Mages did not quite make it into a top 2 this round. But still, it seems like a lot of the same kind of builds being stuck to. If you're going into the Knights, we see 1 or 2 Knights players. The Trolls, Warlocks, Heals. Other than that, still pretty much a very favorable board for Heartless Hunters today.
Yeah, Heartless Hunters, and specifically the ones that add the Void later. That last lobby we saw, Faceless Void specifically doing a lot of work with those stuns, because so many of the compositions were opposing corners, right? If you're going to have people hunkering down, you need a good bunker buster. Faceless Void is, I think, one of the best ways to get that done in those mirrors.
Works out. Okay. Gonna take a quick look over to the scoreboard, see if that's updated here. Top 48 are kept for match 3, and the results should be updated. So these should be the current results. Take a quick look. Yeah, it looks like everybody has their 2 games placed out. So Exanum, really no surprise, leading the pack with the double firsts. Den into the 1-2, 2-1 for Lustriel. As I said, should see some new names into round 3. Nero Time will finally not join Group A. Never mind. The Group A's will be Exanum, Den, Quasar, Blazed, Explain, and Carnito again, and Dr. Necro again. Maybe that's not completely updated, but we do have everybody's placement here, so I'm assuming that that's right.
Yeah, I'm going to treat it as law until I'm told otherwise, so they'll get an opportunity to bounce back and, do a little bit better. They both exited earlier than they would have liked in that last round. Eager to show that was a fluke.
Yeah, it did just update this round, so okay, that makes a lot more sense. It will be Exanum, Den, Lustriel, Quasar, Nero, CCK, and Penka with Blazed sneaking his way into there as well. All right, that definitely makes a little more sense. So we were just a little bit too quick on it. Not a problem. It's not a big deal. But week 3, round 3, going to be coming up here in just a moment. Looks like we got the lobby ready to go, so it shouldn't be too much farther away from here. Let's make sure we're full screen. I should figure out something for that in the future. But Charmer, I'm enjoying myself. You having a good time?
No, I'm having a horrible time.
I can feel it coming out of your...
Disastrous. No, this is great. I love Underlords. It's always fun to see how things develop. I'm really looking forward to seeing Nero, if you were kind of paying attention to the finishes. 2 second places back to back. That's always one of those things where you're happy that you get second, but it really irks you when you're so close to first. Want to see if they can finally push into the victory slot for our Group A lobby coming up. But a lot of competition there, right? 3 of the players there have wins. Exanum with 2 wins back to back. That's going to be the person to watch, the person to beat. I'm looking forward to seeing how this lobby shapes up. This is all great players.
Well, it's shaping up now, so we'll take our quick break now, get the go-ahead, and round 3, just moments away, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to put up a 3-minute timer for this one. And when we come back, hopefully we will start this one off. We'll talk a lot less. We'll have a lot more gameplay. It'll be a good time. So don't go anywhere, guys. Week 3, round 3 coming your way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm still hiding here in my cave. Charmer's out in the sun, being a twinkly, sparkly vampire.
I'm not in the sun. I just have a light. Look, see, I can go
Oh, now
into
we
the
match.
darkness. Yeah.
Yeah, my room apparently is not great lighting during the day. I didn't take this into account when I signed up for this.
It's probably because you've got your windows open. It's just like I said. If my windows were open right now, I would look dark. As weird as that sounds.
So, I can't say anything against that, but I will just continue to look like the moon, and you will look like the sun, and everything will be all right. I believe we are all set, ready to go here for week 3, round 3. So, without further ado, I'm going to hit the begin match button and see if anybody yells at me.
I don't think anybody is going to yell at you.
One can
They're
hope,
going to be
man.
excited for this Underlords action.
One can hope. Apparently, I shouldn't transition that quickly. But yeah, we do get a good sense of our sponsors. Of course, TDU, Cosmos, and Link's Back Alley Brawl, which I believe is actually tonight. So if you didn't get your tournament fill here, don't worry. These guys got you every Saturday night, I do believe, is their MO. But where is my game sound? Boop, there it is. We're good, Charmer. We're good into week 3. Or round 3 of week 3.
And some interesting starts here. Kind of curious to see how many folks go with the open fort. We see some instant losses there, basically. So at least Quasar and Lustriel deciding, you know, I
Not
want
even
that
gonna
free
fight it.
reroll. The stuff shown me in the shop, not that great. Not going to fight for it.
And that's their prerogative. Yeah. It looks like Penka was our observer of choice, and double Shadow Demon is strong, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as far as a tier 1 unit goes, getting the bonus from kind of that demon passive, stacking them up, and then also turning on Heartless, it's not half bad. If you're gonna actually try to win, it's a great place to start.
Ogre Cap alerts. Doesn't take it. Penka. Okay. All right.
No, I think that the Ogre Caps have really fallen out of favor with the changes to Bloodseeker. I think the only time that you really chase it now is if you're going to be going with a Legion Commander composition, but with the popularity of Void, as we saw with the Nero game earlier, I don't think that people feel like you can win with it. You can do well, you can certainly, you know, get those top 4s, but I just don't think that it's a closer of a composition.
So I'm going to hop over to CCEK, one of the new names here. Ooh, that was a draw from Penka immediately. Oh, okay. It's a straight win for CC. All right, fine. Did take the Ogre Cap, put it on a Bristle, has an LC. So if we are going to be keeping this LC and this Ogre Hat, we're likely determining sort of the progression already from this player.
Yeah, I think that this is very telling because, as I said before, I think that Ogre Cap comes into play when you're thinking Legion Commander. Bloodseeker, not as strong of a carry anymore. And if you're going to be going Legion Commander, then you get the
There we
cap
go.
because you can turn her on without having Bloodseeker in your lineup, so you don't have to deal with the Deadeye trait. That was always the drawback before, right? Is if you were running Legion Commander in your Bloodbound build, a lot of times Legion Commander just spent more time doing laps around the place than dealing damage. Cap here means you can turn it on, and even if you want, you can still run both Ogre Magi and Warlock along with your Legion Commander, and then a third unit with the cap. And Weaver. We've seen it kind of all day today. Bit of a star once you get it to 2 stars.
Shining Star, yeah. Does get the win. Didn't get the dual damage on the LC, though. That's rather unfortunate. This is definitely a stacking strategy. If you are going to be going into an LC, you want to try to get as many kills on it as possible early on. I'm just going to flip over to Exanum, because he is doing the same thing. Imagine that. 2 LCs in this lobby with Ogre Caps. This one's going to be on our Paladin, our Omni Knight. So not the Weaver, because he doesn't have one. Well, he does. He's just not using it.
It's very interesting to see 2 players with similar strategies. However, again, this 2-star Weaver going to be the difference maker because
So big.
to beat this horse to death, quality over composition in the early game is what matters.
So that was just some interesting tidbits to see. We haven't seen a real Legion Commander in Group A today. We saw a really big one from Nero time a little bit earlier, but Nero's opting into 3 Magic to start off with. See if he sticks with it. Ooh, Den. My man Den. 3 Brawny. Look at that.
Yeah. Like the Brawny start here. I also want to highlight that our friend that we were just watching at Xanum, our double winner so far for the day, with that Legion Commander build during the item round, did pick up a Stonehall Pike for Legion Commander. So they have the pieces. They just need to get that snowballing, and that'll become very, very dangerous later on.
Well, can't get a kill if the opponents don't play anything. Good job, Lustriel, playing the meta game, the long form, but
Yeah, I mean, you're staring at 2 Legion commanders and a Brawny in your early lobby. You
No.
might as well just collect your interest and go from there, I guess.
Den broke our hearts just now, Charmer. He's 4 primordial now. 4 prims. 4 prims over Brawny. No Brawnies today. If they're not going to come out by round 6, I don't think they're going to come out at all. So, c'est la vie.
Yeah.
Never give Den a
And
compliment that he can hear again. Got it.
Lustriel and Quasar here still looking like they are going to take some auto losses, and now Penka as well, because all 3 of them have no units in place. We're going to see 3 players take an L.
6 hit for Penka. What? What? Okay, I understand the fording part, but why not try to take a star out of the equation? You know, Penka, you have a stone cloak, buddy, but nobody's killing anything.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
going to be interesting. Meanwhile, I mean, we do have some players streaking. CCEK, for example, here on that Legion Commander strategy has a pair of Warlocks up front. We talked about this earlier today, right? We did see somebody that was kind of trying the Legion Commander Bloodbound strategy, but they had that 2-star Warlock up front, and I was saying that just felt like a bit of a misstep. This is the way that you do it. If you want to turn on your Bloodbounds, you put 1-star Warlocks up front. They are your sacrificial lamb.
Making interest there. Going to follow CCEK for this one, Charmer, since he is streaking. Very invested in keeping that streak here as well. Legion Commander with that Chrysalis. 1 kill count. Not a great kill count, but still working on it. Has now Trolls.
Does have Trolls now online. Really wish that Legion Commander was 2-star, and you wish that was a Pike instead of the Chrysalis, because you want...
Ouch.
With Legion Commander, you want something to be scaling, whether it's, the cloak or the Pike. You need it to snowball. It's like, in many ways, it's like the Brawny Alliance, but you're just kind of banking on the 1 unit. However, don't really have the tools to get that online at the moment.
You're going down, says CCEK, strangely enough. Did eke out a win there with that 2-star Glorious Weaver that you're such a fan of. But
I mean, in the early game, it's one of the best 2-star units that you can get a hold of.
Nope.
Like I said before, it's the poor man's Marana. It hops around, it's consistent damage, pretty hard to bring down. It's got traits that are very attractive in the early game, both Hunter and Insect. Even though we don't see Insect online here, it's still really good unit to find in the early game.
All right, Legion, you got this, buddy. You can do it. Wins, then dies, but won. That's the important part. Queen of Pain doing some work up against those trolls in the back, but the Weaver is basically the guardian of the galaxy right there. Just doing work, man. So much work. Okay, so...
Yeah, well, wearing the cap doesn't hurt either, so you get that big damage bonus. You're going to hop around.
It
just
always,
overall a really good squad for CCEK at the moment.
The cap just always reminds me of like the aviators of old. Looks like an aviator's cap to me.
Oh, that's interesting. See, to me, it looks like a American football helmet from like the 40s.
Oh yeah, sure.
Just one of those
Rugby.
leather caps.
Okay, there's the Pike. The problem is, the Weaver's the one with the kills. 10 kills on the Weaver here for CCK. So it's going to be held, I suppose, for a while. We need some more kills on Legion Commander to make it worthwhile, but I guess we're going to be stuck on this Weaver carry for a bit. And why not, right? You're at 6 units, 99 health, you haven't lost in a while, and this streak is getting dangerously close to complete.
Here they come.
Yeah, Legion Commander really needs to get 2 or 3 more kills before the Pike becomes more attractive, and at that point you're going to make the switch. But for now, sticking with the Chrysalis to try to get those kills makes sense. Runs into this brick wall of a Beastmaster, though.
Oh, the Shadow Demon! Oh, no! The Shadow Demon broke the Weaver. Ain't defending nothing now, so that will not be a streak complete for CCEK. Unfortunate. Den, however, does continue on to the streak complete status with 3 mage, 4 prim. So ever since we saw the Brawny and he just kind of ditched him for the Primordials, he's been on a roll.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with, you look at that lineup and you see 2 stars, right? 2-star Tiny, 2-star Razor, 2-star Arc Warden. These are great units to have here in the early game. They will taper off the longer this goes, but I am not shocked at Den being on a win streak at the moment, given this particular lineup.
Hob and Hob with 3 in Essex, 2 jewels, and 1 jewel, and that's an Eno. It's an all-out attack Eno with the mages from Nero time. Wow, crazy. I was expecting an Essex or a Hob.
I can see that as potentially a choice. It's just another kind of source of that AoE damage and. I mean, the poison is not really what you're looking for, right? But you get AoE damage, and in many ways, this is like a poor man's. How do I want to put this? It's like a poor man's Tidehunter, right? When you do finally get the all-out attack, you get that 1.5-second stun on the units that you are hitting with it. That stun will buy your mages time to make sure they get their casts off. Again, mages are traditionally a bit of a glass cannon build. You're just trying to buy yourself enough time for the big burst. So this does help with it. The drawback, though, is that unlike a Tidehunter, you can't just frontline Eno and make sure you get an early cast. So it's not great, but I can at least understand the argument for making this decision.
So Nero with the poison, Den with the Hob, Gen friendly fire, which does ridiculous amounts of damage if it can actually land some pretty decent clusters. This is match point for Den. Going to be taking on Blazed here, 98-90. Lots of 2 stars abound. This is for the streak complete with the 3 mage, 4 prim, and a Hob.
Yeah. The friendly fire is a bit more attractive because it got a small adjustment, small buff recently, I believe, in terms of the area of effect for where that damage is done. And that's huge. Those bombs all connecting there.
Got him.
Big, big win for Den.
Got him, man. Okay, that's streak complete. Net worth bonus right there. Going to take a quick back look over to CCEK since they're still fighting. Okay, we'll pick up a victory. 1-star victory is still a victory, isn't it? And I just wanted to basically see how the Legion Commander was going, and it's a crew to kill in the last 2 or 3 rounds. So, yeah. Poor Legion Commander, 1-star.
Yeah. The player that I want to highlight at the moment is Lustriel. Poor Lustriel.
Mm-hmm.
Just now, like as I'm speaking, finally turned on their Hunter bonus. They did not have it prior. They only had 2 alliances active, and they are still 0-9. They have not had a victory.
0-9 feels pretty bad. I mean, there was definitely some open forting a bit earlier on, but perhaps just took a little bit too long to get this build up and going. Seems to be actually faring okay. Has that Piranha here with the 6 units. The Legion Commander and the Golem just going to be destroying the Wind Ranger in the back. The bugs finally take their toll into the corner, and Marana will drop here as well. So 0-10 now for Lustriel. Definitely a bit on the low side for health this early on in the game.
Yeah, I mean, you do have some good pieces finally online. They're actually just 2 Wind Rangers away from a 3-star Wind Ranger. Getting Marana is helpful. They need 1 more to 2-star her. Those would both be big, big bonuses to this squad. However, the rest is very suspect. I see a lot of 1-stars, and I see specifically 1-stars for your front line. It kind of makes sense why they stuck with Jewel here, right? They needed some beef up front. They are still rocking a 1-star Pudge. That's not where you want to be.
It's a lot of 1-stars, actually. Wow.
Yeah.
Bad times, man. Bad times. We don't even have that many hunters this round. This is the first lobby not completely dominated by hunters. It is Quasar, Lustriel, and Blazed, but we do got some knights in there. The 2 magic users with Den and Nero, and then assassins.
Those are fake knights, as I like to call it, because those are really Legion Commander builds.
Sure.
Don't let those knights fool you. The one that does interest me, though, is CCEK, who got 4 trolls online.
Okay.
And we're going to see Lustriel go to 0-11 there, but CCEK does have this Legion Commander build, but with 4 trolls. That's an interesting...
Don't forget to deal with the
There's no way an Essex wins out of this.
As I planned it.
No, there's no way. Too
Just
many
no way,
Eidolons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's looking from bad to worse for Lustriel, but yeah, the final point to be made there is just there doesn't seem to be a ton of fighting over those Hunters Heartless like there was in our previous lobbies, but he still is struggling to make it happen. So, board's yours, Charmer. Who you want to check out? Penka has opted into our first Assassins on stream, for example.
I wanted to stick with CCEK for one more round because I wanted to highlight the bench here.
Sure.
So this is a Legion Commander build, but we've kind of documented the struggles of this Legion Commander to like get a presence and get a snowball up and running. It's still at 1 stars. So I suspect that even though I said, hey, this isn't really a Knights build, I think they're going to transition to Knights and away from Legion Commander here. I look at this bench and I see a lot more Knights. I look at Legion Commander still stuck at 1 star. You don't even have a second one on your bench. I think CCEK, knowing there's another Legion Commander player in the lobby and seeing that the shop is just not cooperating, is going to actually transition to a full Knights build.
Well, last time we saw they had that Weaver with the pike. Now it's Dazzle with the pike, and that kill count dwarfs that of the LC. Just to show you some of the power there of Dazzle on top of things. So yeah, I'm more inclined to go with you on this one, but we'll have to see. Time will tell. Definitely no LCs on bench, and it is a 2-star for Exanim's LC as well. So not great odds here for CCEK to continue on with that. Good heals. Wow, that Essex lives a lot longer than I gave her credit for. But I don't think CCEK will continue on into any streaks anytime soon.
No, not until they finish making this transition. It's very clear that they're in an awkward spot and they'd like to be somewhere else. I mean, they still have the remnants of a Bloodbound shell, right? They've got this Warlock up front and they've got the cap on the bat, which are in theory supposed to power up your Legion Commander, but that Legion Commander is, as I said before, still 1 star and kind of in the back. I think that and we see the 2-star Abaddon now. I was going to say, I think they're just looking for some 2-star Knights and then they're going to make this transition.
Well, that was satisfying.
Well, yeah, the other problem is that, that bat is a Knight. So with only the 2 Knights and he's up there as a sacrifice, you're not getting anything out of that bonus.
Well, yeah, they finally added this Abaddon, so Abaddon and Omni will get the bonus. The bat, it's interesting because you want the bat to sacrifice itself, but you saw the AI sidestep with the bat there. Knights, if they can be next to each other, will try to be next to each other. And so the bat is going to need to switch spots with that Warlock if they want it to act as an early sacrifice, or they're just going to have to put the hat on somebody else entirely. I wouldn't mind with this particular build, for example, to see them instead put it on like Shadow Shaman, so that that's a unit that goes down.
Something to point out, Lustro and Neurotime just drew. I'm assuming Lustro had the upper hand and Nero's poison brought that one through, but can't actually confirm or deny that one. Refresher orbs, some butterflies, and some moon shards. CCEK took the wristful, I believe. Yep.
Yeah, there was an awful lot of butterflies that round.
A lot of people like butterflies.
Is it springtime? Is it finally here?
Well, I mean, in theory, we are running into April. It's very thematic. I know that we're really enjoying CCEK, but Exanim is 1 win away from streak. So I'm just going to hop over to him, the other LC commander build of the game. Their LC doing far better. 29 kills, has that butterfly, a little bit of a rainbow going on here. 3 Knights, 4 heals, the Warlocks and the Trolls with Heartless. It all adds up real nice for this guy leading the pack.
Yeah, well, this is the difference between a 1-star and a 2-star Legion Commander. Once you get Legion Commander to 2-star, it can actually survive long enough to deal that damage. And here we see it catching a bunch of folks with the kills. Interesting to see the butterfly on it. I have to think that this is simply because you like that 35% evasion, because Legion Commander does have 36 kills, and you do have a Pike on your squad, and that Pike is currently on a Dazzle with 3 kills. So that's very telling to me as far as what this player prioritizes, and it seems like they really like that evasion that the Butterfly provides.
Ooh, 4 Warlock to come into there. Hello, Necrophos, and whoever the hell else we just actually added. Who did we just add? Must have been Necrophos. No, couldn't have been. Whatever. 4 Warlocks to come into it now with the hewing. The streak complete. Ixanum is actually not first place. It is Den holding 80 health strong. But as we just stick with this guy for another round, it's pretty evident that the healing is doing its job by keeping everybody alive and doing the damage because of it.
Yeah, it's very impressive here. I'm a big fan of getting 4 healer, 4 warlock online because it makes you incredibly difficult to kill. And the big thing here is that you've got a Nesix with the rejuvenating ritual, and your healer alliance bonus does apply to her heal as well. So this is a squad that's going to be very difficult to kill. They are already at level 9. If they decide to go to 10, they could either go to 4 trolls, but I would like to see them add in a 4th knight, maybe like a Sven, because then the extra toughness that you're going to get from getting tier 2 of knights along with all of this healing is going to make your squad just incredibly difficult to kill.
So, once again, just as a heads up, going to abandon Ixanum because Penka, not somebody that we've actually talked a lot about today, is down at 30 health, took some pretty big hits during the conversations, now has to go up against Den, who is leading the lobby. But Penka, with the unlocked Dragon, has a Snapfire in there somewhere, right? Went into our first Assassins for the day, and is just not faring well at all.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that this is exactly why Penka is not performing well. I think Assassins are just not in a great spot in the meta right now. And I don't know how Valve can address their weakness. The issue with Assassins is that they're, from a design standpoint, they're meant to disrupt your backline, right? In theory, Assassins should be the thing that you would want to build against mages or against hunters. You want to get to the backline and you want to deal damage to the squishy folks and kind of delete them early. The problem, though, is between contraptions and the way you organize your squad and your build, you can hide in the corner and still protect your key units. So Assassins jump to the back, but they never actually get access to the units that matter the most. Faceless Void is a bit of a exception to that rule, and that's why he sees play in the Hunter Void comps. But I think that Assassins need to either be redesigned to fill a different role, or they need more things that displace units so that you can target the priority units when you do leap to the back.
Well, you can see him here, just basically putting your point into practice. The leaps into the back essentially just keep getting met by this knight resistance right here, and they can't hit the squishies, they can't hit the damage dealers, and they just get mowed over. Now, I'm not saying that CCEK is going to be an easy opponent to take down anyways, but the point in practice is exactly as you say. The corner comps and contraptions and positioning can almost defeat Assassins right at the gate.
Yeah, the Assassin Alliance is very interesting because it's one of the few that you can almost counter just from like your own personal play, your own positioning. It has nothing to really do with your comp, and just smart play can negate them almost entirely. So I really feel like I said, Valve is going to have to either change what they want Assassins to do as far as like as a role from a design standpoint, or they need to give them more tools to displace units so that they can actually attack the units that they're intended to attack.
Will this make the difference? We go from 4 Assassin to 6 on the deathbed here of Penka 77 in round 21. Has a 3-star Shadow Demon in the opposition. The Void gets a pretty decent set of stuns there with the 2-star coming in strong, but now with the silence there, everyone taking damage. They're trying to really get into this narrow gap for damage, and the crits, I think, will actually pull through a victory. Take down Blazed win streak, and Penka with 6 assassins will finally show some promise.
Yeah, they do get the victory over Blazed, who had one of those corner compositions, but it is worth noting that some of your key pieces for Blazed were still 1 stars. So you had some units there and they were doing their work, but Pudge, one of your best frontliners, still 1 star. And then Necrophos and Disruptor, your best kind of healers to prop you up, both 1 star. So I think that the minute that those kind of go up in quality, I don't see Penka winning that round again, if that makes sense.
Well, now we'll see if Penka versus Quasar, not quite the same kind of corner comp here this time, but again, all the beefies and the brawnies are on that outer edge of this corner comp, and they are starting to make some statements.
Yeah,
here.
this is a much better representation because you've got at least a 2-star Pudge, you had the 2-star Tusk, so this is a corner comp that had the better front line, and this is where the assassins do start to falter. So Penka is eliminated.
And falter they do. Gonna hop over to Den, who is on a streak. Will he complete that streak? Does look like he will be getting into the 7, looking now to complete it in the next round. Hobgob, the only one surviving, so minimal damage against Exanum. But this is the 6 magic for primordials comp. It's the only 6 magic for prim, because the other one is 6 magic from Nero time with 2 primordial, 2 warlock. We splashed in the Shadow Demon. Or sorry, the Shadow
This is
King.
a 6 mage comp with no Keeper of the Light. We do have a Refresher Orb on a Lich, and that's fantastic, but it's very rare you see 6 mages with no Keeper. That being said, Den very much in control of this lobby. Right now, in terms of health totals, it is Den and then everybody else. When you look at the records, Den is an impressive 19-3, and the next closest person in terms of win-loss ratio is 13-9. So very, very telling as far as what Den has managed to do in this lobby.
I'm a little concerned that this is not going to be enough. The Hobgob Friendly Fire definitely missing the corner, but ooh, there's the Lich bounce. Holy. Is this enough to bring down these hunters? Because I'm not convinced it is.
I don't think that the Morphling's going to survive because this 2-star assassin here,
So hard to hit.
Templar, is just going to be too tough to kill. Right? It had already popped its bubble.
Feels bad.
Very, very close though.
Feels bad. Poor Den doesn't get streak complete. Went 7 in a row though, and it is a good point that you bring up. Right? It's a 2-star Lich, or well, it's trying to become a 2-star Lich, but no coddle. Whereas Exanum, no, sorry, not Exanum. Nero Time, the other mage player, does have a 2-star coddle in the corner.
Yeah, we're going to have to see if that ends up being a real difference maker or not. If you can 2-star this Lich, I think Lich with a Refresher Orb still might be enough to get the job done. And obviously, if you find Keeper, you can make some changes. I do like what you are seeing Den do here to kind of compensate for their deficiencies by putting in the tier 1 summoner bonus. In theory, this helps your Eidolons that'll be spawning from the 4 primordials. Lone Druid's a solid unit to begin with, but without that burst damage, I mentioned a few times today, mages are a glass cannon build. You don't have a true front line. You have a front line that buys you enough time for your casts to go off. However, here, you don't have Keeper. You don't have that big source of burst. So these more resilient squads are just kind of walking through you at this stage. You really need to turn something around. Find this 2-star Lich, find Keeper. You got to get something to, just put more damage on the board. There's really no other way to put it. Hobgun has been your damage leader the last 3 rounds.
And by a good amount as well. We'll have to see how well Den does. He's dropped 20 points since we started watching him. So I'm going to take a look at the other end of the board because Quasar is not down by a lot, but he is still down at the bottom. He has substituted in his Voids and is looking for a 2-star Medusa. Picked up a Bloodthorn this round as well. Put that on top of his Wind Rangers. So Quasar versus Exanum. Pretty even on the health, but will the Voids be enough?
I mean, the voids with the Medusa are certainly going to help. However, the opposing squad here is collapsing on that corner, and it's not looking good. I don't think that Quasar is going to be able to survive here. Xanum is going to get this victory and is going to almost eliminate him. Not quite. We see some folks teetering on the edge now. We are entering round 26, so again, the round damage is very significant. Nero, Quasar, Lustriel, all in danger of being eliminated this next round.
Nero, it's interesting to note, right? The 2-star Keeper of the Light, 6 Magic, 2 Primordial with a splash of Warlock, with a 2-star Shadow Fiend, which does not have an item, which is and a mango tree. Oh, okay. Interesting. I guess we're on Nero here, Charmer, just to keep with the commentary. But Nero versus Den, we could actually have 3 people go out this round. The Magics and whatnot have all kind of fallen short here in the endgame.
Yeah, and unfortunately here you're going to see exactly what Den was just talking about in chat, and it's the same thing that I was saying, which is Keeper is a difference maker, right? You're a mage build. You need that big burst, and Keeper of the Light, they're getting it done for Nero, defending against Den. I mean, Den made it very, very close. Like I said, I like Den's lineup, but if you're going 6 mages, you really want Keeper.
Well, we had 2 go out this round. Lustriel and Quasar both have actually substituted in voids into their hunters. Do go out, which means we only have 1 hunter player in the running into this top 5 for round 3, and that's actually going to be Blazed up at 41 health. We still have both Magic, Den and Nero, but as you said, in Den himself coming in says, I need Coddle. Doesn't have a Coddle, still has a lot more health than Nero. Might be able to pick it up after the units flood the board again, but we're down to top 5.
This is interesting because it might be one of the rare times where the hunter lineup pays off, because now everyone else that you were competing with for units, they're gone. So if you were trying to, complete your squad, you were just 1 or 2 units away, the ease in finding them just got a whole lot better. We've got 2 mages fighting for keepers at the moment. We've got, again, these 2 Legion Commander / kind of like Knight Troll builds fighting with each other. Blazed could be the benefactor of the diversity this time around.
Blazed is in an interesting position here as well because, just to confirm, yeah, he's still the only player with a 3-star. That 3-star Shadow Demon has actually been here for quite a few rounds now, and Blazed with 4 Heartless, 3 Hunters, and some Warriors with Scaled, basically just trying to double down on defenses against everybody left, has a streak, and a pretty significant streak here as well. So we're watching Blazed on this one, Charmer. Blaze versus Nero, the 6 mages with the Coddle in the corner.
Now, we are still seeing a lot of damage come out. There's the Coddle, but it doesn't quite kill enough units, and the big unit that it didn't kill, the difference maker, is this Marana. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you ride on something in Underlords, you're just a better unit, and Coddle does fit that description as well, but Nero eliminated, and that's got to be fantastic news if you are Den, because that was 2 2-star Keeper of the Lights that just went back into the pool. Den only has 12 health, basically has no money, but Keeper is back on the menu.
It's an expensive unit, though. Even if you find 3 of them in your shop right here, he can't afford them all. He only had 9 gold.
No, but you have hope.
There he is.
All you can ask for is hope.
He
has 1. That is 1 more than he's had all game.
It's true. It's true. Not going to put the refresher on it because it is, a 1-star. It's going to leave it on that 2-star Lich.
The Lich is still the right unit to have the refresher on at the moment, but
the only thing's really putting up numbers. Okay, top 4. Nero's out. Den was at 80 health at one point. It's now down to 12. Taking on Xanum. 10 units up up. See if the Coddle can do enough. Oh. It will get some damage.
We saw some horses, but again, the 1-star not quite there. And this Knight and Troll squad just kind of walking forward. This 2-star Troll Warlord putting up a lot of damage.
Oh my goodness, Blazed actually won as well. 7 streak, looking for one more to complete it. Is the only one with any significant health here left out, but Den will be eliminated. Just too many stars against him. The stars aligned, I suppose, for his defeat. Blazed with the only 3-star in the game is actually leading, but you said it, 2-star Troll Warlords doing work, and both opponents have them.
Yeah, this is all about Troll Warlord here at the end. We have 2 Legion Commander builds kind of fighting with each other, and then the one Hunter. Interestingly enough, this is a Hunter without the Void Splash, but you do have Tier 2 of Heartless, and you do have Warrior, which helps with your front line. I like this corner build. The Tide Hunter certainly helping with the CC to buy your backline time. Mirana getting it done.
We have a Terrorblade in here, and the Terrorblade got absolutely melted. Did not put up good numbers whatsoever. So this isn't even an Xanon player. This is a clone.
Everybody but Mirana is dead. Mirana is good, but it is not solo your entire team good. So unfortunately, Blazed suffers a loss, has the streak broken, and we are hitting the point now where Blazed might benefit just because they maintained their health. This is where health as a resource becomes a factor, because Xanum and CCEK are both in a position where if they lose, they are eliminated. Blazed, don't get me wrong, I have seen folks take upwards of 30 damage in a single round, and we are post round 30, so it's possible, but Blazed likely can lose one time and still survive. We'll see if that becomes a factor.
Who do you want to follow? Quick. Okay, Charmer. We'll look at, I got CCEK up here, as there is still a Legion Commander kind of running rampant around. The Shadow Fiend doing some work there in the back up against the Xanum clone, but CCEK is melting. It is just cannot deal with this this Legion Commander, which is interesting because Blaze knocks out Xanum and Xanum knocks out CCEK, so he lived long enough. Blazed, it doesn't even matter if he needs that Void by the end of it, will actually win against both 2-star Warlords. They both get knocked out same round.
Yeah, great show by Blazed. Very, very well navigated. It was a Hunter build, did find the victory, but in many ways, like I said before, I think this was the benefit of diversity this time around. Instead of seeing 6 players all going for that Hunter build and kind of cannibalizing each other, this time around, a lot of different builds represented, and that meant that Blazed could pick up the key units that they were targeting.
Went to the scoreboard, but it's not going to be updated, so let's not go to the scoreboard. It was nice to see a little bit more of a diversity. The 2 Legion Commanders coming 2nd and 3rd that round. So we didn't ever transition out of it. You said at a point there that we might see a transition out for the Knights. Didn't actually happen. I didn't quite see what the kill counts were on the LCs, but I also do not have any other matches to jump into, so I guess that's it for the gameplay this round.
Yeah, I suspect what happened is that they finally 2-starred that Legion Commander. I think that they were prepping to bail out, and then perhaps they finally got a break from the shop. But again, just fun round, right? A lot of diversity, got to see some different things.
Yeah, it was good.
Poor Den. Like, my heart goes out to Den. I have not seen somebody deep into the round 20s on 6 mages with 0 keepers.
30 plus.
And I know it's because Nero had 2 2-star keepers. That really makes the pool quite tiny for you trying to find yours, but I've never seen that before. That late into the game, 0 keepers on 6 mages. Absurd.
Tier 4 unit like Keeper is what, 20-something copies, I believe? It's something.
We should be able to check that in the old rule book here.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out where the rule book is. These are update notes.
It's in like the options, and then you go down to
Well, regardless,
like charts.
however many copies there were, as you said, like holding them against the other player, making sure you couldn't get them, looking for a 3-star. if it happens, it happens, right? As you say, fall into all these keepers of the lights. But we did have that question in chat that you did answer. But yeah, there are definitely a finite number of heroes per tier, per hero. So if someone gets eliminated, you can easily pick them up. And we saw that, right? Like as soon as Nero Time died, Den was able to pick up a 1-star, but then he got eliminated next round because a 1-star that deep into the rounds was not going to be enough. Just not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Den, like I said, my hat goes off to him because not only did he go so deep into the game with 6 mages and no keepers, but he outlasted the other mage player who had 2 keepers. Like, if you have 6 mages and you have 2 2-star keepers of the light, that should be all the burst that you would ever need. And yet, Den clawing to stay into that game despite the adversity. So it's the most impressive 4th place I've seen in a long time. I guess that's the way that I want to word that, because that was something else.
Well, Den overall will actually stick to 4th place. He's in top 4. We got the groups now up for our Season 6 Week 3. Xanum with a 1-1-3 does lead the group, unsurprisingly. But Blaze, 2nd place. CCK and Den to come through. We got a Twitch streamer, Jolly Jumper. It looks like one of the next new faces into Group A. Prostalol with a third first bumps his way up into the top 8 with Danny, and that's it. That's our top 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 7. Who are we missing? There was a tie? 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, there was a tie. That's why. Right. So we're gonna have a few new faces here in Group 8, but even with Den's bad luck, he's still in top 4, still in a good position for this round.
Yeah, not a lot of points separating our Group A players, just 6 points separating 1st place from 7th place.
Everyone's just coming into the lobby here. So, yep, there's your scoreboard coming in. We got round 4 coming up in a moment. And I really got to figure out a better way to keep your webcam live, but yeah, that's my bad. You just see the vestiges of my Discord every now and then. I'd much rather look at your handsome face, Charmer, trust me.
Why?
Because it's better than talking to sex. No, I'm just kidding, sex.
All right, fair. You'll get no arguments from me on that.
I didn't think so. Okay, I believe we're going to be starting something like 32 past the hour, which is in 5 minutes. So we're going to put up a 5-minute timer. When we come back, round 4, with majority of the lobby already in already. Our admins are on it today, Charmer. So 5 minutes. See you guys soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, week 3, round 4. Nearly got that backwards. Jumped ahead a week. But yeah, week 3, round 4 coming at you here in just a moment. Charmer and I will be finishing out this last round, and apparently this is our last round for the day. Top 48 made it into the top 4. I guess top 24 for this week into round 4. I guess that makes sense, right? Math.
Yeah, whatever you say.
Yeah.
I'm just here to be somewhat funny-ish, like dad joke funny. That's what I'm most known for. Bad dad jokes.
And you got the dad bod to go with it, right?
No, I don't actually.
All right, finding
I used to.
standard private match. This will be the last round. New faces in this round, Charmer. Prostolo going to be making it back into Group A. Saw him a lot last week. Haven't seen him much this week. With Jollik and who was the other one? ARP. So 3 new names for the stream today.
Yeah, the presence of ARP is interesting because it's a single ARP and a ARP, if you want to say it. So perhaps for the old people. That's a joke that's going to be lost on the young crowd here, but
Boomer logic. All right, but as we did
once
say,
you reach a certain age, you start getting stuff in the mail from AARP.
oh, do you?
And yeah. Listen, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm not a spring chicken. I'll say that.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of us now progressing into our dinosaur years. Yeah. 30 plus is ancient in this industry. That's all, Charmer. That's all. It's a young man's game or young woman's game these days. Actually, I have quite a
It's
few
a
prominent
young
esports
person's
girls.
game.
Young persons. There we go. Gender neutral here today. All right. So round 4, Underlords Pro. Why does my thing just say 4? That's a little strange. There we go. Week 3, round 4.
That's actually still exclusive. We need to start saying like Young Heroes game
The Young
because
Heroes game?
one, we're playing Underlords, right? So heroes are the name of the game, but also I don't want to leave out any demons that we might be wanting to participate in esports or eldritch gods, deep ones, if you will. What I'm saying is if you are a follower of Cthulhu, you are welcome to hang out with the Underlords Pro League.
Well, I didn't realize we were advocating today, Charmer, but good on you. May the masses receive the message and join up. Prostolo and ARP, I guess, both forted there, considering they both lost immediately. Whoops. Kind of screwed over that free reroll a little bit right there. This is a very big CK on stream from Danny, and it will win.
Gets it done.
Not sure if
5
Danny
health.
wanted that.
That was all that remained on that Chaos Knight. 5 health. That is edge of your horse action. But again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. If you ride a mount in this game, you're just the superior unit.
That poor little sad Ricky. Danny did not want to win. He was 0-1, now sitting at 1-1. All right. Poor Danny. Double 2 stars on Jollik? Hello? Let's go over there.
And we have a few players with multiple 2 stars. As I check the scoreboard,
Never mind.
Jollik already has the Luna, which is very impressive, but Danny does have the Tiny and the Bloodseeker both at 2 star as well. So
Ooh, that's a Heartless Bloodseeker, too. That's pretty damn good, man.
All sorts of early 2-star action. Meanwhile, plenty of folks taking this kind of open fort strategy. So it's the early game. Both are a path to victory. Neither one is necessarily ahead.
Blazed will protect Streak. I don't think that Bloodseeker has it in him. Definitely doesn't.
No, Blazed and Xanum. Not really surprised to see them be the only players at 100 health. Both these players have done phenomenal all day long, very consistent top finishes, and they're going to play aggressive. They want to maintain that health as a resource. We saw Blazed really benefit from that last round.
All right, so Blaze and Xanum looking to protect streaks. Danny is sitting at 2-1. So if Danny gets another win, that will be the beginning of their streak. And they were the only person to actually go up to 4 last round. And Jollik actually now sitting at 4 units there as well. So Danny seems to be very invested in getting that streak going. Blazed with the 2 stars out and about with the Primordials and the Chainmail. Certainly making it look good for a streak. But this 2-star Luna from Jollik, I think, is going to take too much attention here because that Nyx in the back will now win out, I do believe. Boom. Nope. Boom. There we go.
There we go.
Wet noodles abound.
I felt like I was watching a nature documentary and they were just kind of running into each other.
Primordials are natural,
rams,
right?
rams in the hills.
All right, so I think that's the kill on the Blaze streak. Vanguard versus Pike. Big choice to make here. Goes with the Pike.
And they
All right.
do go with the Pike, which again is interesting because usually with these scaling items, you want to pick it if you've got units in your lineup that are going to stick around. So we see a lot of units on the bench, specifically Hunters. I wouldn't be shocked to see, maybe not this round, but in the near future, Wind Ranger make it into the lineup just so it can potentially start racking up those kills. Wind Ranger, specifically with a Pike, if you are a Hunter player, can become very dangerous late game because of that natural fast attack speed.
Yeah, the natural fast attack speed works out very well just in general. You can throw pretty much anything on her, including void bonuses. So, yeah, it's a good time late game. Looking around, Blaze will start rebuilding that streak. Put that Pike on top of the Warden. So 4 kill count Warden. Might as well, I suppose. Yep. Danny is the one with the streak. Sitting at 99. Gonna follow Danny for a little bit here. Has that Pudge, which has become that mainstay today. So many Pudges out and about. In fact, if I look around right now, only 2 players actually got Pudge. One on the bench. That's it. That's incredibly odd this early on.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because the shop is being unkind or if people are trying something new. I don't think most folks are going to be going too far outside of their comfort zone. This is, after all, the final round of the day. This is the last opportunity they have to better their league scoring position. I'm supposed to put some emphasis on that. So, you know, this is a very important round for a lot of players, is what I'm trying to say.
Now,
Last round of the day, you want Pudges in your lineup. We've seen Pudge be an all-star. He's very good at taking up space and throwing hooks and then taking up some more space. But that's all he really needs to do.
not something I've seen a lot of in these high-tier lobbies, but we have a Dragonlance on Luna for Jollik. I'm just going to sit here on Jollik for this round just to see what they're doing with it. But Dragonlance is not a common item in my experience here, the 2 weeks of doing commentary.
Yeah, that tells me that the rest of the choices probably weren't that great. The issue with Dragonlance is that most of your units that you want to have range already have a pretty decent range. So going to unlimited isn't that big of a deal. And the damage boost you get from Dragonlance is so much lower than your other choices that it's usually just not worth it. So sometimes with a Luna, it can be a benefit because you can kind of hide her in the back and, you know, squeak in some bonus damage there. It appears what they're trying to do now. But even then, in most cases, you would rather just have Luna have, and this is going to sound rather insulting, but a real damage item instead of the Dragonlance.
Yeah, that's my impression of what a lot of the top tier players think about Dragonlance. One of the cool quirks, though, I believe, is that it's an infinite range bounce, right? You will always bounce range with a Dragonlance, I believe.
Even if that's, you know, what you're playing it for, again, in most cases, the benefit from just having a better item is usually worth your time. I mean, you can see the glaives bouncing all over, right? Just between units left and right. It's doing some work there, but I have a feeling that if you just had more damage being done, that this still would have been a victory. So It's nifty. It's just not like a priority.
Apparently, I was on Danny's screen, so I did swap over to Jollik. I mean, I agree. It's not a priority. It's just added benefit, best of the worst, as he said. But Danny lost out streak, which leaves Jollik the only one streaking. Picks up the Vanguard real quick. I have to see if those gems will actually be able to cash in at the end there. But 7-1 with the 2 Knight, 2 Insect, the Vigilant because of the Luna. Few Hunters out there, just taking a quick broad look around the board. 3 sets of Barricades. So an Essex and Hobgens, probably.
Hey!
For them, that's going to be Blaze Den and Prostalol. But, you know, a lot of Hunters, a lot of Heartless, a few Trolls and Knights here and there. 2 LCs yet again to be here in round 4.
Yeah, we don't see anybody going into mages yet, or even kind of toying with the idea. We'll see if that holds for the length of the game. Even our player that's splashing druids and brutes at the moment still has kind of a hunter base, if that makes sense. They've got 2 hunters, they just don't have the third, so we might not see anybody going mages this time around.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see anybody even starting into the mages. Even our Pudges, as I look at their comp off screen here, Pudges are in rare supply. So it's probably going to be a little bit more of a fight over the Heartless Hunters, Trolls, and Knights, which makes this actually a very divisive lobby. It's almost like cleave 2 and 2 in that regard, which is interesting. First one today that we haven't seen an outlier anywhere.
One of the players that I could potentially see consider switching to mages would maybe be Blazed. Not likely, right? We still see kind of that hunter base, but they do have that Arc Warden that has the Stone Hall. Everything else on their lineup is either 1 star, or they have a couple of 2 stars, but they're tier 1 units. If they were to kind of fall into some mages, I could see them maybe considering making the transition if they read the lobby and say, hey, this is uncontested. But for the most part, it's going to be a lot of folks competing for the same units, and that's going to be an interesting struggle to watch unfold.
All right, that's a protected streak complete. Jollik with the dominating win, 10 to hit Prostalol. Something that we got to quickly bring up. There are 9 Anessics in this lobby, Charmer. There is 1 random Hobgob on ARP with Let's Go Crazy. We have 5 Enthralls and 2 Golems to bring up the rear.
I have never been more impressed with a lobby in my entire career of Underlords, because 1, I didn't know you could have 9 Anessics in an 8-player lobby,
Fine.
and 2, I still don't know who Hobgob is, but I see what you're saying. It's definitely heavily Anessics, pretty much split down. We have a lot of Enthralls, 2 Golems, and then we do have our 1 Hobgen player. It's not a lot of parity. I'd said at the start of the broadcast that I thought most players were coming around to the fact that Anessics is just a hair above the others. I think that you can make arguments for taking some of the others, but I think Anessics is just going to be pretty consistently your best option. It appears everybody agrees with me, which is rare.
I have no idea why I said 9. Makes no sense. But yeah, good call, Charmer. Good call. Good call. Good call.
Listen, I don't do it to mock you. I mostly do it because we do have some new players in chat, and we want to be accurate for them.
Yeah, and I call her an Essex. Some people call her an Essex. We're going with an Essex for the cast, I believe. But it is Hobgen, not Hobgob. I don't know why that's a thing, but
I would prefer to pronounce her as Ains 6. Thank you very much.
6. Don't want to talk about Ains 5.
When I was casting artifact events, I remember very specifically Sunsfan was having an argument with somebody about how I think Abaddon is how he says it, but they were having an argument about how you pronounce Abaddon. And they turned to me and they said, is it pronounced this way or that way? And I said Abaddon, which was not a way that either of them had considered. And Sunsfan still to this day, like, kind of gives me crap about that.
Yeah, grudges in this industry. They're long living. We have been just keeping Jollik here on screen because I've been very curious to see where this Dragon Lance goes, if it ever does get replaced. Something to note is that with the Vigilant, she's been consistently attacking the first spell throwers, which with 7 Anesix here, is that passive ability of summoning a companion. So almost every fight, Luna's just throwing glaives at Anesix's face in the very back line. An interesting interaction.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps to kind of keep the opposing Underlords
Look at her
in
go.
check. I mean, you can see it right there.
Just
Just
immediately.
hitting her, takes out the companion, gets some damage there. The glaives start bouncing around.
It's working. It's working.
Yeah.
97 health. Hasn't lost a round in a while. Is another streak coming? Can't say
But
anything bad about it.
Even with the prioritizing of Anesix in the back, she still survives long enough to drop the golem.
Well, there's
You
nobody else
get
to
a
hit her,
victory.
right?
Yeah, I mean, you get a victory if you're Jalik, and that's really all you care about. But there's an argument to be made about whether or not that's a plus or a minus with the auto-targeting Anesix in the back there.
It's more the double vigilant doing it, really. If it wasn't double vigilant, it probably wouldn't be coming to fruition. Taking a quick look around the board, preparing for round 14. 97 health is a commanding lead from Jalik at this point. And
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is Jalik and kind of everybody else. Jalik really protecting that health total. There is one other player that is currently streaking, though, so perhaps some folks are seeing their compositions come online, start to stabilize.
just doing work. Enthralled that LC, gets another win, no problem. Something that is very interesting to me here, Charmer, is the 50 health between first and last. This is the biggest deficit of health range that we've seen.
It's certainly the biggest we've seen by round 15. We saw some pretty big ones early on with the Exanum victory. I believe they ended up winning that lobby still at 70 or 80 health, but at round 15, this is a very large disparity. And our other streaking player was Prosto, and they ended up losing that last round. So this is, again, kind of Jalik and then everybody else at the moment.
All right, Nyx is going to get some decent hits with the Carapaths, but again, the glaives are just bouncing around these corner comps to a pretty high degree of damage, and that Luna's been the breadwinner again and again and again. Picks up a Pudge versus a Nyx for the double enthrall, and almost makes a little bit of a sweaty entrance, but Jalik will cool and collectively hit Danny for 6 and continue on with that streak. If this is going to be back-to-back streaks, Jalik's net worth is going to just go again another step higher than pretty much everyone else.
Yeah, well, they're doing it on the back of this Luna, and I can't help but notice, but Luna rides a mount. I think there's something
bring
to
this
that there.
Up to fair validness quite a bit. I'm going to have to adjust my play styles, I think, Charmer.
Yeah, you just play all of the units on horses.
So bounce, bounce, infinite bounce. Just amazing.
Now,
LC.
I was just going to say, like, this is a front line that, in theory, late game could start holding up to that glaive, but I don't think we're quite at that stage yet. We see the glaives still kind of melt through it. What you're going to need to contest that is, I think, a better knight bonus. I mean, you're only at 4. I think you need to go to 6 knights, or you're also going to need maybe a second tier of healer there to kind of keep those units alive. Right now, this early on, I think it's just too much damage to handle.
All right, so as fun as this streak has been for Jalik, we're going to hop over to the other end of the lobby. ARP, the first time we got to see them on stream today, has been suffering. If Jalik is a cut above everyone else, then ARP is unfortunately a cut under the rest when it comes to the health. 22 health is starting to become a bit of a danger zone for them. Is running for Heartless, 3 Hunter, 2 Vigilant, with actually a wristful on their Beastmaster, and they just put in themselves a Tide on top of it. But they are against Jalik anyways, so this is going bad to worse very quickly for them.
Yeah, this is, on paper, seemingly a pretty decent lineup However, you just don't have a good front line to kind of keep you afloat. Again, this Pudge is still stuck at 1 star. Your Tidehunter is stuck at 1 star. You know, we've kind of talked about how hunters are great, but if you can't keep your front line alive long enough for them to do their consistent damage, because they're not a burst composition. They are just a methodical, you know, I'm going to keep dealing damage and keep dealing damage, and you need a front line to support that. Now, Marana's going to help here. I'm a big fan of Marana. Beautiful unit, but again, still at 1 star. Your front line still not very beefy yet. This could be a bit of an issue. I also just want to point out, I would like to see this Moon Shard and this Lance actually change spots. The reason for that is the Wind Ranger already has a very fast attack rate naturally. And so when you add the attack speed to her, the net benefit of her with the Moon Shard isn't as much as it would be with the Shadow Demon, and even more so because of the Demon passive. So I would like to see those two items swapped, but in reality, it's just not going to matter. We see the frontline collapse here, and ARP is eliminated as a result.
All right. Oh, Jollik took the first hit. Oh, Danny actually struck back to the leader, brought her down a peg. But we do have our first elimination.
Danny
Will
boy.
be ARP. You were saying, Charmer?
I was saying, oh, Danny boy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The pipes are calling, right?
Yeah. So, if you're wondering why Danny was potentially able to take a bite out of Jollik there, Danny does have Hunter online, still has Insects in, but has also managed to add Void. So they've got at least the initial pieces of the puzzle online. 2-star Void Spirit certainly helping with the front line. Their Pudge is a 2-star with a defensive item, and that's a bit of a difference between what we saw with ARP there.
All right, it will be Danny versus Exanum here in this round. Some green goes up to the red and just gets immediately evaporated. The Weaver going to be dancing around the back, but the Pudge will fall. The Legion Commander will give some damage off to the Templar. Danny will take that as a gift, but Enthralls are now out. It's going to be the Weaver versus the LC, and the LC is just whacking everybody with the stick, and that will be another victory for Danny here at 27. Starting to claw back with this Void at 8 units.
Yeah, the Enthralled Legion Commander, and even though it's a 1-star, that Marana really helped clean things up at the end. Marana is just such a shifty unit. It's so hard to consistently bring down. If you don't land a stun on it or kind of something to root it in place, it's just going to hop around and be a big source of damage throughout the entire fight.
Insects contributed 992 damage. I wonder how much they procced their miss chance. 20% chance to miss for a few milliseconds, which is usually enough for another attack. But I gotta wonder when you're gonna swap out those insects into something maybe like a stronger frontline.
Yeah, I think they just need to find a better frontline unit. At the moment, nothing's really shown up that would warrant breaking it. So I think this is the right call. If you don't have the ability to go with a true frontline, keeping the insects for even a little bit of a mischance makes some sense, but it's not ideal.
Blazed will take a victory. Xanum actually knocks Jollik down another peg, and Prostalol also knocking Jollik down, well, the Shadow at any rate. Just kind of putting the foot in the sand right there. So it's not quite over yet for everyone. This is not just Jollik's game anymore. It's starting to suffer some more consistent setbacks. But Danny is sitting at 15, so we're going to stick with him for now. Nobody streaking. We're looking for some 2-stars. Doubt we're looking for any 3s at this point.
Big 2-stars just picked up by Danny. Danny just got a 2-star Marana, also a 2-star Templar Assassin, who's the proud new owner of a 2nd Moon Shard. This could be where Danny starts to turn a corner. They just need to find a unit to replace this Nyx Assassin. Not only do they still have insects in, but it's just a 1-star Nyx Assassin. In many ways, I almost think it would be better to put this Necrophos in. I think now might be the time where they needed to break that insect bonus, because this late in the game, I can't imagine insects is better than a 2-star Necrophos.
Right? Yeah, it's a good early mid. It gets you to that late, and hopefully you have some health to spare. But this late into it, again, the insects are going to be a very low contributory factor to any kind of wins.
Yeah, I mean, it would be one thing if we were talking about like a 2-star Broodmother or something that helps with your front line, but this is a 1-star Nyx Assassin. I don't think the insect bonus is going to be as good as this 2-star Necrophos, even without it turning on another tier of Heartless, even without it being an additional, Warlock. Just the ability of Necrophos itself, I think, is worth it because the Death Pulse does still heal your allies. It's still a big option, but instead they do break insects, but it's for a troll warlord now.
Not entirely too sure the survivability is going to be there for him to really turn the tide. This Legion commander is just cleaving through everybody. Oh my goodness.
It's just cleaving through. I still would have liked to have seen the Necrophos, as I said before, for the healing, but Mirana is still doing a lot of work in that corner for you. It's not going to 3v1, however, and it does fall, and Danny is eliminated in 7th place.
If you would like to lament us with the Danny boy, now's your chance.
I will not punish you.
Okay, fair enough. Good try, Danny. Comes out in 7th. The Voids, unfortunately, not able to pull it through. Something I did note is there are a lot of demons still out there. Everybody has at least a demon. I was curious with a few different hunters out and about how many Terror Blades we actually have, and it's just blazed with the Terror. So every other demon out there must be for the Heartless.
Well, I do want to just quickly point out Den actually does not have a demon.
Yeah, it's the only one left in the game without a demon, yeah.
But yeah, I think most folks are just, rocking the demon for the Heartless bonus. Looks like we're watching CCEK here, who at 3 health is fighting for their survival. They do have, this Legion commander doing work, but the rest of their squad has fallen. And this is going to be it. Prosto taking out CCEK.
And there goes Den as well. Probably should have had a demon. Swapped in the Void at the end. But didn't survive long enough. This leaves us with Prostaloz, the only Hunter Void actually left in here. The health gaps have kind of fallen away a little bit. Jollik, no longer in the commanding lead that they once were, is not Hunter. Is something to point
Jollik was using that health as a bit of a buffer, but they have spent that resource now. There is no longer the ability for Jollik to keep losing comfortably, and the unfortunate thing for Jollik is they still kind of don't have an identity, which is I think why they're falling. They've hit that point in the game where their Luna isn't going to be good enough to just carry on its own, and the rest of their squad doesn't have a lot of synergy to it.
Speaking of synergy, it's Blaze versus Exanum, and the Hunter's Heartless usually does prevail, but today it is Blaze taking a big chunk of health. Won't go out, but is down to 4, and Jollik, as you said, without that identity, actually drops to Prostalo and the Voids. So we're starting to finally see some emerging streaks here in the end game, as Prostalo and Exanum have not lost in several rounds. Pick up a Butterfly of Vlad's. Jollik going for some health with the Mechanism, and Blazed with the Moonshard.
Yeah, Blaze has got to be pretty happy with that Moonshard. It's a nice damage boost on your Mirana. Mirana is kind of your MVP in the lineup. What's interesting to me is the second Moonshard is on this Disruptor. You have to assume that's because you want a fast cast. Nope. They are moving a Moonshard now to Necrophos instead. Oh, okay. I was going to say, I don't understand why you would put that on the Necrophos. They moved it back. Stopped trolling me. I do like the Wind Ranger having this pike. I kind of talked about that earlier, where with her naturally fast attack speed, she can benefit. Only 17 kills, though, which is a little low this late in the game, but I think it's still a good item overall for her. And this is going to be a victory for Blazed, I think.
Ooh, that's a big Tide ult, but only a Mirana to back it up with an Essex, and it's not going to be a Golem coming down, so 17 to hit.
Yeah,
Jollik,
and
oh my goodness.
Like I said, Jollik has just hit that stage where Luna, cheeky Luna combo with the Lance can only carry you so far. And Jollik just doesn't have a game plan beyond that at the moment. Trying to transition, trying to, make this change in their lineup, turn this corner, but I think it's going to be too little too late. We see Prosto hits the 2-star Lich there. That's going to be very interesting and dangerous.
2-star Lich, both Xanum and Prostolol are at 10 units. It's Prostolol versus Blaze, so I guess we'll just stick here. Maybe Jollik can hold on up against Xanum for another round, but this could actually be top 2 by the end of it. The silences not exactly hitting the majority of the units, and Prostolol with the Void and the Hunters are just mowing them down. Blazed will go out first as in the top 3. That leaves us him at 4th, which is a decent amount of points, right? This is the last round of the day, so it's not first, but he made it to Group A by the end with a 4th place. That's got to be worth something.
And Jollik survives, still losing, but does survive with 5 health. And I do want to say that this was at least the benefit of banking that health. We've basically saw Jollik on a free fall from like 80 health now down to 5, but still manages to top 3 because they had such an impressive lead early on, and they've now 3-starred this Luna. We'll see if that can be a difference maker as well. But we kind of talk about all those open fort starts and how it's pretty common, but Jollik here, by protecting their health, has managed to top 3 with a very non-traditional build just because of the health lead that they maintained.
All right, Jollik, 3-star Luna doing work, but Chrono Cube shuts him down. They did actually hook out the Mirana. Mirana's dead for the opponent, but there's just too many red stars still out there.
That cube was massive. That was a lot of time where Luna was not doing any damage, and Jollik does fall in 3rd place, but that is 100% a 3rd place just on health management. So bravo to Jollik for kind of pulling that off with a really non-traditional build.
Xanum lost to Prostolol. Broke the streak. Not streak complete. It's pretty big when you're looking for rerolls and aces at this late game. This also means that
especially
damage,
because Xanum is 1 Troll Warlord away from a 2-star Troll with a mask. That would be a pretty big upgrade for them.
But the percentage damage is just doesn't matter how much health you got. You can't heal when you're dead. Prostolol's Voids have actually put up a win against the leader.
So it's a pretty decent cube, but it did not catch the Troll Warlord, so it's still dealing damage over there. Again, because of the healing from that Mask of Madness, as long as it can stay swinging, you're fine, but it caught a stun there, and now it's going to fall.
Wow.
The story for me, and the reason I think Prosto is going to pull this down, is not only do they have the Voids online, but they have 2-star Maranas, both with good damage items. Marana, as I've said many times today, one of the best damage dealing units in the game. You have 2 of them at 2-star.
Okay, so all that aside, Xanum didn't take Shiva's and passes the Vesture of the Tyrant to go for a Bloodthorn. If you're going to get mowed down by Voids, I would have imagined one of those items would have come out.
I'm not actually shocked by this, because what the Bloodthorn does for you is it offers the opportunity to silence one of those Maranas, and if you can not eat a spear for even a moment, right, not take that stun, not take that big damage, that could be a difference maker. If you're scared of these Maranas, and you should be, because, I mean, look at the damage they're dealing. Slowing them down in any way has got to be an attractive option.
Well, again, that's why I would have expected a Shiva's, but I mean, that Bloodthorn actually worked out real good against that Faceless Void, but it doesn't even matter. Prosto doesn't need any more cubes to take a big chunk out of Xanum, and now this leaves him as the winner in round 4 for 1st place. Xanum for 2nd, and Jollik with the health management and that badass Luna, as he did say, for 3rd place. So those are the big point getters here into the last round of week 3. Really well done to everyone to get this far. Really impressive stuff from Jollik. Blazed shouldn't be too disappointed by how they ended up. And Den just ended up slightly shy of his average, sitting at 5th instead of 4th this round. So
Yeah, overall, really fun lobby. A lot of interesting things going on. As I said earlier, Jalik just showed why open forwarding might not necessarily be a best strategy all of the time. They took a build that, I got to be honest, does not look impressive for a late game build, and managed to still secure 3rd place just because they protected their health early on. They free fell from like 80 health all the way to being eliminated and still finished 3rd place.
Still finished 3rd. Yeah. No clear identity, as you were mentioning. No clear carry outside of that Luna. No direction. Still got 3rd. So this means that we're done for the day for the casting. The admins are busy tallying it up. We will have the scores as they sit for the week, and then the league tallies to follow. Charmer, I know that we went a little bit beyond your dinner time here, so we do thank you for your patience and your commitment to the stream. It's been a pleasure theory crafting with you today.
Oh yeah, it's always a blast. I'm just a nerd, right? Like, I love strategy games. I love Underlords, and anything else that the crew behind the scenes wants to put events together for, whether that's other card games, other auto battlers. I'm always game for casting one of these. It's a blast.
Well, I've definitely had the pleasure of our first meeting today, and do wish you luck with the other games out there. Before we do transition into some of the numbers, and we can talk standings, other than your That Charmer Twitter alias, where can people find you out there?
I'm Charmer on Twitch. I'm Charmer on YouTube. I'm basically Charmer everywhere but Twitter, because somebody's camping that account and won't come off of it. If you want to find me, you can even go to charmer.com. I've got links to everything there. I try to make myself very easy to find, so Charmer everywhere but Twitter.
Fair enough. Yeah, maybe you can send an angry worded letter to Twitter. Get that guy
I
off
have
that.
multiple times. Like, I own the
to no
domain.
avail.
I do business under it. I've got a long history. They will not let me get that account, and it's just an egg. It's a dead account that somebody is sitting on. What I need is a bunch of angry people to tweet at Twitter. So if you're watching this and you want to help me out, tweet at Twitter support and say, hey, give Charmer that account.
There you go, guys. We'll get the UL Pro Army on top of it. So other than a few sound issues in the beginning and one guy saying he didn't have any sound by the end of it, I think we eventually did hit the correct mix. So I'm going to save those settings down the line. This was our first week of new overlays as well. Still working at adding some bells and whistles here, but if you guys do have any feedback, of course, drop it in our Discord, which we do have floating around somewhere, probably on a command there as well. I know that there's some other tournaments going on today. I don't know if they're still going on, but I do believe Link's Back Alley Brawl is yet to happen, so that should be happening probably in the next few hours. I don't have that one in stone for you guys, but it's just a nice one-round chill fest. Usually you see some of the bigger names in there as well. I believe they're looking at a $50 prize pot, which is pretty good. Of course, we do thank our sponsors of Cosmo and TDU. I do know that they run a lot of bit of content themselves. So, lots of Dota Underlords out there for you guys to check out. Charmer's probably going to be floating around, some of them here and there, right?
I mean, I will keep attending all of the ones that I get invited to. It does look like the admins have said the match 4 results have been updated on the sheets, so those might be ready now.
Match 4 is indeed updated. Ixanum with the first place this week, 51 points. Well done. Still waiting for the complete tallies to come out, I believe. League 6 league points tallies after week 2. But this was week 3. Oh, there we go. Now I got the week 3.
There we go.
Boom. All right. Let's open that bad boy up. So again, these guys did phenomenal this week, right? Can't say anything bad about anybody that did place really well. Exanum, of course, up there. Prostolol claws himself up to 48 points for the week for the league. Well done, sir. That was a heck of a win at the end with the Voids. Void still got it. Not the worst. That puts us with Blaze, 44 points. Jollik, 43. Quasar, 42. Nero, who I don't think we saw at the end there, sitting at 41. And Dr. Necro ran up top. Well, that's top 7. He's at 41. Den. Hey, Den. Top 8, buddy. Well done, well done, well done. I'm going to drag this guy in here. And that's not full screen. Why isn't that full screen? We're missing a few placements. League points. Boom. Super smooth, I know, guys. We'll figure something out for that in the future. This is the league points and rank after week 3. So, Charmer, Quasar leads the pack in number 1. Takes home a total of 33 points, I guess. I'd imagine that's how that works. Exanum, number 2. Turf, frickin' her. Didn't see him today, at least on stream. So, still sits at number 3. Den is number 4 overall for the league. So, still sitting at a pretty good top 4 average.
Yeah, and Prosto there, with today's performance, managed to propel them up into a top 5 spot. But talking about how competitive this league is, when you look at that 5 spot, there's actually a massive tie there. When you look at the number of points, that's 24 league points. You have Prosto, Shame, Nero, Tin Man, and Penka. And those are all names you should recognize if you follow the Underlords scene. Some great players. So good job to Prosto. Great performance today. You propelled yourself up into that, top 5 spot. Big tie. Gonna be really interesting to see what happens next week, to see how folks try to get out of that tie. You don't want to be there. You want to be above them, up with the others. So.
Well, I guess Penka would have fallen in rank because definitely did not hold up very well at the very end there. If you do look at the total points for this week for Penka, he's down at number 30 with number 23 at 30 points. So yeah, not a great week for Penka. Fell a little bit into that tiebreaker, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. That's just how it goes. So that'll be it for us. We're done. Round 4 in the bag. Charmer, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully I'll get to work with you again some other time. And I believe our admins are going to throw a raid out to one of the other channels. So if you didn't have enough Underlords, don't worry, we got your back. We'll throw you over to a respectable stream, I'm told. And we'll call it square. So week 4, next Saturday. Be there, be square. Have a good one, guys.